All right. And today is a split screen. 2-2.
2 by 2.
Director. Director. Okay. Good morning. It's 22nd day of March, the second day of the week actually, and you're just right in time for your favorite show in 254. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Olo. Welcome to the program. Please talk to us and let us know where you're watching us from and exactly how you are getting our show. All right, you can talk to us on our official Twitter handles and as well as the station, excuse me, Twitter handle and our website, as well as, yes, stream live and get us there. Before that, first things first, the entire team now. Director, reveal, boom, you see? Magic.
Amerudisha.
Wolan. Wagwan.
Yeah.
Doreen na Troy.
Yes.
Gang signs.
Sisi ni wa uplands.
Throw a sign. Doreen.
Sisi ni wa uplands.
Good morning.
What is the meaning of Wolan Shatter?
Sisi ni wa uplands.
Wewe ni Muluya. Wewe nikwambie mabega. Doreen mabega.
Wewe wachana na mimi.
Good morning and welcome to the program. As already mentioned, this is Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wamboy and we are glad that you have chosen to start your morning with us right here on KBC Channel 1. Doreen.
Yes, mabega. Wachana na kitu inaitwa mabega. Wachana nayo. Anyway, beautiful morning to you, our viewers. Kama kawaida, we always appreciate you for making time to join us. And which other morning show would you be watching if not Good Morning Kenya? We have a loaded show for you this Tuesday morning. Different interesting conversations, how the news will be looking like, not forgetting our dailies, and moreover, the 9.8-kilometer stretch. That is what we shall be looking at this morning. I'm talking about the section between Dagoretti Corner all the way to Karen, said by Kura last year that it's supposed to be completed by this year, May. So is actually that going to happen, given the fact that it has taken quite some time, particularly that stretch, the third phase of Ngong Road? That is our focus. Many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arange Okelo. Troy.
Thank you so much, and hi guys.
What's up?
Hi.
Vicky,
Hi.
this year we haven't had a show together, so karibu.
Asante sana.
We're coming in your own show.
Wewe nasema karibu sana kwa show.
Indeed.
Ongea kama Mjaluo.
Atasema indeed.
Welcome to the show.
There we go.
Now I like that.
Angeanza na kitu kama, indeed, Victor, we have not had a show this year.
It was coming.
Indeed.
It was coming, bwana.
Yeah, it was on its way. Indeed, my name is Ben Troinjoe, holding brief for Regina Manyara, and I'll be coming back with all the latest news, of course, in the country. Tunatoka exam, tunaenda politics, then exams, then politics, and I'll be coming back with all the latest from the world of news just a little bit. Good morning. Good morning. This is what we have latest from our news desk, where we begin with security matters. And security has been beefed up in Elgeyo Marakwet after 2 people were shot dead and 7 others were seriously injured when armed bandits raided Kitiala location on Sunday. Speaking after he met security agencies in Laikipia County, Rift Valley Regional Commissioner Mohammed Maalim pledged the government's commitment to ensure that peace prevails in the Kerio Valley.
On Sunday, raiders struck Koitilian location in Marakwet West Sub-County, leaving 2 people dead and 7 others nursing serious injuries. The bodies of victims have since been taken to Iten Referral Hospital mortuary, while those injured are receiving treatment at Iten Sub-County Hospital and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital Eldoret. During the attack, the raiders vandalized shops and motorbikes before stealing over 600 cows.
Close to 200 bandits, all of them armed and spraying people with bullets in a center, spraying everything, shops, and it is near Koitilial Secondary School, Koitilial Vocational Training Center, Koitilial Primary, and the irrigation scheme.
being the latest attack in the wake of another one on Saturday, where animals were also stolen. Leaders and residents have condemned the act, calling upon the government to act swiftly to contain the insecurity menace and curb wanton loss of lives and property.
Sasa ni miezi miwili imepita, Matiang'i hatujaona watu wako wakifanya kazi, ila kwamba ng'ombe wenye wamechukuliwa wanaenda kwa wapi?
We don't know how powerful these guys are. Mr. President, please tell us if these guys are more powerful than the government. Let us get to know.
Hours after the attack, Rift Valley Regional Commissioner says security has been restored. While meeting security agencies from Laikipia County in Rumuruti town, Maalim called for cooperation between local communities and government agencies in tackling issues of insecurity in the region.
We want to see prompt response on the part of our security agencies. They have been doing very well, but we want to see more response, possible create even a buffer zone between the Tiati and the Marakwets.
And now to the latest KCSE update. Only 2 phones will be allowed within an examination center as part of the enhanced government efforts to curb examination malpractice. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says only the examination center manager and 1 security officer will be allowed to have their phones within an examination center as the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations entered the 2nd week. Wycliffe Okech reports.
Professor George Magoha was in Kisumu to inspect the ongoing KCSE exams that have now entered the 2nd week. Magoha assuring KCSE candidates of an even competition ground as he rubbished some media reports that claim some papers of the ongoing exams had leaked.
A leakage in an exam means that you have the paper way ahead of the process, several days or even a month before, like used to happen. When our children are already in the classroom, the people who are breaching the integrity of this exam, and they are very few, they are doing so to justify the money that they have collected from stakeholders who don't value their children. And I don't think they are going anywhere. And when I give you my own assurance as the head of the education sector in this country that the examination has not leaked, take it to the bank.
And as part of the enhanced efforts to curb exam malpractice, the CS said only the exam center manager and 1 security officer will be allowed to have their phones within an examination center for emergency purposes.
We have now come to a very painful conclusion that we do not need cell phones in examination centers, except 2 cell phones for emergency purposes. 1 that shall be with the head, with the center manager, and another one with 1 of the security men. Reason being, there could be something that is interactive, a child may fall sick, and there may be need for communication. But for all the other mortals like myself, and vigilators and supervisors, and the other security people, they will leave their cell phones at home. They don't need them.
He reiterated the need to have the candidates write the examination devoid of any interference. Meanwhile, says Magoha said KCP exams marking exercise is almost complete, with the results likely to be out later this week.
In terms of the marking process of the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, we are doing extremely well. We are about to complete the composition and insha, and we have no doubt that, subject to the availability of His Excellency the President, we should be able to give you the results either later this week or at the very latest early next week.
The candidates on Monday wrote mathematics and biology papers, with Kiswahili and religious education papers lined up for Tuesday. Wycliffe Okech from Kisumu County.
And now to the drought situation in the country. The government has defended its handling of the drought situation, saying all intervention measures are serving their purpose. State Department for Social Protection Principal Secretary Nelson Marwa says no Kenyan will succumb to effects of drought, dismissing claims of indifference by the national government. Beatrice Gatonyangetich with that report.
For months, millions of Kenyans have had to put up with the unforgiving wrath of Mother Nature. The drought situation has driven many to the edge, with some forced to depend entirely on the government for subsistence. The government says the intervention has provided many Kenyans a lifeline, and a lot more is being done to cushion them further.
Hybrid kind of effort that is being rolled out to mitigate the impact of drought. Hybrid in the sense that in December last year, we rolled out cash transfer, and like the PS has mentioned, although there are material challenges here and there, and if in his own wisdom, the head of state did, decide that there must be another intervention, so that no Kenyan can be able to die on account of lack of food. So the hybrid is cash transfer and physical food distribution.
In the last couple of weeks, some leaders have raised concern that the presence of the state was not being felt by those affected by drought. But in a rejoinder, State Department for Social Protection Principal Secretary Nelson Marwa said no Kenyan will lose their life to drought and that more help is coming.
There is a lot that the government is doing to ensure that in the long run, Turkana should be self-reliant, Marsabit should be self-reliant, Tana River should be self-reliant, so that we don't need to send food there.
National Disaster Management Authority Director Technical Services Lesayana Lembara said for the long-term interventions, the government is working towards developing water infrastructure in order to deal with chronic water shortage, sustainable livelihoods, among others.
We are looking at the livelihoods and the adaptability in terms of the production. We know the climate change is real. So in terms of if the precipitation is reducing over years, and the climate information is providing that, then what adaptive mechanisms do we put in place for the local livelihoods to be able to flourish?
23 ASAL counties are experiencing drought due to failed rainfall, and some 2.8 million Kenyans are facing food distress.
To the looming polls now, the government says that all measures have been put in place to ensure safety during the August general elections. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says that critical election reference material, including the Election Management Security Plan, the Standards Operating Procedure for Peace and Security, have been beefed up and developed and distributed to relevant teams. Additionally, more security officers have been recruited, with more equipment procured to beef up security during the national exercise. Matiang'i spoke when he met development partners in Nairobi.
Of fostering those relations and ensuring that we work very closely with our development partners, and when there are issues to be discussed or issues to be raised, including on how we are preparing ourselves for the general elections, we are able to be forthcoming and forthright with our partners and respond to them effectively as we have done this morning.
And now to some politics, where Safina party has endorsed businessman Jimmy Wanjigi as its presidential candidate. Wanjigi now says the forthcoming election will be about putting an end to the old order and economic liberation. Deputy President William Ruto was the chief guest in the event.
The hundreds of delegates of the Safina party converged at the Bomas of Kenya to endorse the businessman who until last year was operating in the shadows as its presidential candidate.
Kenya. So help me God. So help me God.
Dubbing the upcoming elections as a Nitweka moment to mean a generational change, Wanjigi called for an end to the old order, which he claims has impoverished Kenyans.
We are ushering in Itweka, a break from the old order of personalities, positions, and unmitigated greed for power. It is our resolve to give our country a different leadership, to cement a progressive, irreversible gains in our governance and institutional arrangements.
Wanjigi says he seeks to introduce new leadership in the country that would empower millions of jobless Kenyans.
Out of 17 million employed Kenyans, 17 million. Munashika hiyo. Only 79,000 earn 100,000 shillings a month. 100,000 shillings a month. That is less than $1,000. Ulimwengu.
Deputy President William Ruto, who was a chief guest in the event, reiterating the call for the economic liberation of the country.
Our competitors believe this is a constitutional moment. We believe, together with Safina, that this is an economic moment in the history of our country.
Multi-party hero Paul Mwite, who is a Safina party leader, pledged to lead his party to working with Ruto's UDA and Kenya Kwanza as champions of economic freedom.
That when Safina wins, the president say, we will invite you and UDA to come to the serikali pamoja.
Those who are fighting us believe that it is their privilege to rule over Kenya, that we are slaves, like we are rent seekers, and we must be remaining very grateful that they gave us an opportunity to serve. We want to tell them no.
In other news, Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization is calling on the government to intensify the fight against alcoholism to save young people and potential leaders who have been rendered helpless. The organization's national chairperson, Rahab Muyu, says parents are now being forced to take care of their alcoholic children who should be the ones taking care of them. Zainab Said reports.
Speaking during the organization's 70th celebrations in Thika, Kiambu County, Maendeleo ya Wanawake Organization National Chair Rahab Muyu regretted that alcohol is becoming a burden to aging parents.
This alcoholism, Bwana Governor, has robbed us of our sons at a very early age. It has denied our children the chance of being fathers and companionship because they cannot sustain their marriages.
Muyu pointed out that the menace has robbed Kenya of energetic sons at a very young age and has denied youngsters a chance to enjoy fatherhood.
Siku hizi tunaambiwa wasichana wa miaka 9 na 10 ati ni wamama wa kupata watoto. Lazima tuikatae with the energies we have.
The organization called on the government to assure women aspirants of their security ahead of the general elections, pointing out that recent campaign events have recorded disrespect and intimidation against women.
We must respect the dignity and the integrity of women in leadership. That women will not be used as sexual instruments.
Kama unataka urais, heshimu hiyo kiti, sababu ukikalia utahitaji heshima. Tena tuelewe, hakuna mtu atahama Kenya, na kiti itakaliwa na mtu. Kumbuka heshima sio utumwa.
Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho, who was present at the event, assured Kenyans that the government is keen on ensuring the campaigns are peaceful.
In the ministry, we have made sufficient arrangements, as we are aware, when the government started the multi-agency forum, where we have brought all institutions that are concerned with election into the same room to discuss about our preparedness.
In other news, over 50 students of Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology have been left homeless after the apartment they were staying in was brought down after it developed cracks. The students lost their belongings and are currently being hosted at the institution hostels. One student is said to have sustained minor injuries.
The 5-story building located at Juja area of Kiambu County is said to have developed cracks on Sunday morning after a sewerage system was dug inside 2 weeks ago, weakening its foundation. Children are said to have alerted the occupants of the building of the danger lurking in their midst, leading to immediate evacuation.
Ilianza tu crack, watoto ndio walikuwa wanacheza wakasikia nyumba kuna vile ilikuwa inatoa sauti fulani. Watu ndio waliambia watu nyumba inabomoka. Kukuja yenyewe tukathibitisha ilikuwa inarusha mchanga kidogo na kuna sauti pia ilikuwa inatoa.
Hours later, the building was brought down safely by officers from the National Building Inspectorate in collaboration with county engineers. The occupants of the building, mostly students from JKUAT, watched helplessly as their belongings were reduced to rubble. According to one of the students, only a female student whose door was locked suffered minor injuries as she struggled to leave the house through the window. Affected students have been hosted inside the institution hostels, with efforts ongoing to help them start life afresh.
Somebody like me now, I'm left with nothing, but I get to continue with my studies in JKUAT. So my 6,740 yenye nimepewa sai as a deposit, in real sense haitanisaidia juu I have nothing. I have no clothes, sina chakula, I don't have that place to spend in.
Every student who resided or who is residing in this building amepoteza kila kitu yake. It cannot be recovered, and we are looking forward towards ensuring that these students, they will not start from zero, and we are calling upon every stakeholder, and we wish to upon at this moment to approach the Governor Nyoro, MP Koimburi, the MCA, Kamrej, to come and assist us in whatever way they can.
The increase in such cases has been blamed on greedy developers, hiring unqualified contractors and failing to follow requisite building processes.
Further afield, a China Eastern Airlines passenger plane carrying 132 people has crashed in southern China shortly after losing contact with air control traffic. There was no immediate confirmation of the number of casualties, but the disaster prompted an unusually swift public reaction, with President Xi Jinping calling for investigators to determine the cause of the crash. Brian Mwindi with more on this update.
China's Eastern Airline is yet to comment on the crash or respond to queries after the passenger's plane with 132 people on board crashed in a forested hillside in southern China. The airline has, however, grayed out its logo on its Weibo account and also changed its website to black and white as a sign of mourning, the local media reported. China's Civil Aviation Administration said it has also dispatched its investigators to the scene, but it is feared that there are no survivors. Flight MU5735 left Kunming at 11 minutes past 1 p.m. local time and was scheduled to arrive in Guangzhou at 5 minutes past 3 p.m. Flight tracking sites report that the plane was in the air for just over an hour and was nearing its destination when it went down at Guangzhou. The disaster has prompted an unusually swift public reaction from President Xi Jinping, who said he was shocked and has ordered for an immediate investigation into the cause of the accident.
That's all we had for KBC Good Morning Kenya News. But up next, Victor Olong is coming up next with Embu Senator Njeru Ndwiga, who will be responding also to questions. So kindly get into our social media platform or any questions, queries, or anything that you want the senator to address. Victor is coming up next.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle, or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns, and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news, and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Kama ni pesa mimi nilikuwa nazo na siko bahili kwa watu.
Ni mtu mmoja tu na nibadi.
Sikutamani wala sitawahi kukutamani.
Sio haki. Sio haki kabisa. At least angekudanganya. Sio kukwambia waziwazi namna hiyo.
Really? Yeye nafikiri mimi naromba sana.
Nahitajika kuanza safari yangu.
Of course not. If she responds, it won't be a sincere love. The only thing she'll show you is a facade to cover the emptiness in her heart that she's feeling right now.
Elena, why do you look at me like that?
He sent me away.
He did what? I don't believe this, Mom. How could he do that to you? You're the only one willing to look after him.
Believe this.
Are you sure he didn't see you?
Believe me, this was no accident. Someone tried to kill me.
Lying heart.
Keep abreast of the developments live from the National Assembly and the Senate.
On our members of Parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice for the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as one opinion say aye?
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of Parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
At exactly 7 a.m., time for us to quickly look at how our roads are looking like this Tuesday morning. And the 9.8-kilometer stretch is our focus. We're talking about the third phase of Ngong Road, which, as mentioned by Kura last year in August, they say that that particular stretch is supposed to be completed by this year. In the month of May, it has taken a bit of some time, and part of what necessitated that is the encroachment, particularly by small and medium-scale enterprises. So this morning, we just want to track the progress, how it has been coming along, and also try to look at how the first and the second phase is doing after its completion process. I'm talking about from the Kenya National Library all the way to Prestige Plaza, and then from Prestige to Dagoretti Corner. That is what the first and the second phase looks like, but also we shall be keenly trying to focus on that third phase. And I will be telling you as well some of those things that Kura mentioned that will be part of the amenities once that road is completed in terms of construction. So that is what you just want to check this morning, and perhaps we can begin from the Prestige Plaza. This is just where the first phase terminates at. Obviously, again, one of those busy areas, oftentimes heavy kind of traffic always witnessed around this stretch, or better still around this area. This is at the Prestige Plaza Mall. We're just going by the area. It obviously is one of those busy areas. Clearly, it's just around the mall. It's also a bus terminus. So this is one of those reasons there that as to why there's always heavy kind of traffic, and clearly that can also be seen as you leave the estates there, living areas of Karen, Dagoretti, Ngong, coming all the way to the city center, just particularly on that stretch or on particularly that lane. That's where, you know, there's really heavy kind of traffic. In fact, moving at a very, very slow pace, slightly away from that, just before you get to the Coptic Hospital, around that particular stretch, still moving at a very, very slow pace. And again, if you can remember, much as the first and the second phase is already completed, that is in terms of that road reconstruction, part of what is remaining are the 3 footbridges that had been mentioned that were supposed to be installed around this area. One among those areas is at the Coptic Hospital. One is supposed to be around the Kenya National Hospital as well. There's also supposed to be one which had been designated as at other specific areas, and this is try to reduce on the number of death cases, because again, you can clearly note that anytime there's an expansion of a road, always good number of times there's always high number of death cases, simply because just by the wideness of that particular stretch or that road, and again the lack of these footbridges, particularly making most number of pedestrians to end up using the main roads in terms of crossing over from one side to the other. This is why there's always that high number of death cases, and that is part of what had been witnessed on the areas around Outer Ring Road. So this is why it became necessary to just install these footbridges. But this project is also stalling a bit. So again, when you look at the traffic flow, I'll be telling you why that particularly is stalling. But back to the traffic flow, still nothing is changing there around Prestige Plaza. But just before you get to around the areas of Prestige, around areas of Adams, moving at a very swift pace. So clearly just where you'll have to make do with that heavy kind of traffic is when you get to the Prestige Plaza, and also around areas of Coptic just before you get to the City Mortuary roundabout. But on the other side, as you leave the City Mortuary roundabout, going to all the areas around the estates there on that particular stretch, moving at a very, very swift pace. But this is also part of what you'd be expecting to see in this early morning hour. Oftentimes, as you leave city center, heading over to the estates in this early morning hour, just unless on some other specific roads, but on most times, this is what you'd really be expecting to see, moving at a very swift pace, smooth sailing, and that is what you're seeing this morning along Ngong Road. So clearly where you're having to make do with that traffic is around stretches of the Adams roundabout, actually what used to be the Adams roundabout, on that stretch of the Prestige Plaza, as well as some sections around the Coptic Hospital. Slightly before those areas, coming all the way to just where we call that third phase between Dagoretti Corner and Karen. Again, on that stretch, this is how it is looking like. But obviously that is being necessitated by that fact that there's still that ongoing construction of that third phase of the Ngong Road. And again, part of what Kura mentioned is also the fact that this particular stretch will also be inclusive of the non-motorized transport system, clearly the pedestrian walkways, as well as cyclist lane, traffic lights and traffic signals all together once this project is complete in terms of construction. So that's how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic along the areas of Ngong Road. But again, this clearly is one of those roads that we just try to keep a focus on up until we get to May and see that project complete. If at all it will be complete by that time. But that's how it's looking like at exactly 5 minutes past 7 a.m.
It's now 5 minutes past 7 o'clock. Good morning. My name is Victor Lowe. Now let's take a look at what's on our front pages of our local dailies. But before then, our guests are already in studio and I will be taking you to them briefly for people and politics. On the front page of the Star newspaper, 3 governors in trouble over graft. We have got anti-corruption agency targets prisons chiefs in 450 million shillings scandal. That's also on the front page of the Star newspaper. On the Daily Nation, Ruto's sticky mess. Now, it says that for the deputy president, when it rains, it pours. Only days after bagging the Kenya Kwanza presidential ticket, he must now select a running mate from an increasingly thinning stable. All right? Kraft deals with other ambitious political parties, shake off a new court case arguing that for his resignation, while all the while warding off criticism against the integrity credentials of the courtier of politicians hanging around him. That's one of the front page of the Daily Nation. We have got outliers who have refused to ride the popularity wave. We have got several politicians there. We have got Kiretu Murungi, who is the governor of Meru. We have got James Nyoro Kiambu, Deritu Murithi Laikipia, as well as Alex Tolgos of Elgeyo Marakwet. That's on the front page of the Daily Nation. And I have the front page of the Standard here, our pledge to Kenyans on the Standard. Now, what will their presidency look like? A closer look at Raila and Ruto speeches when they were declared and cleared to vie for presidency, and what they said at Chatham House reveals their policy direction. That's what's the front page of the Standard. We have got the picture of ODM leader Raila Odinga there and Deputy President William Ruto. Now, let me give you one thing. One, Deputy President Ruto promised to invest in agriculture to increase productivity and make Kenya food secure. Number two, we'll seek economic inclusion, reform economy from the trickle-down to bottom-up model. What about Raila Odinga? Pledge to leverage on Uhuru's infrastructure development projects to drive industrialization. And second one, promised 6,000 shillings per month to 2 million needy families and to scale up universal healthcare. That is what's in their manifesto and what they're promising Kenyans. Again, that's what's on the front page of the Standard. And finally, on the front page of the People Daily, the ODM cars, despite party assuring aspirants of free, fair and verifiable primaries, contestants continue to stream out claiming insincerity in conduct of internal polls slated for mid-April. So we have got many and a myriad of actually leaders who have been decamping from one party to another. We have got Philip Kutima, ODM, and moved to DAPK. We have got Almas Otieno, who also moved from ODM to Jubilee. We have Andrew Mwadime, Jack Ranguma, who ditched ODM to undisclosed. He's not yet disclosed the party. We have got Joash Maangi, who moved from ODM to UDA, and David Nkedienye, ODM to Jubilee. But anyway, we still have that happening across political lines, and before the deadline for the party nominations, a lot will be happening. And finally, Uhuru's grand plan to consolidate and revitalize Jubilee. President has promised aspirants wishing to vie on ruling party ticket various goodies, among them funding their campaigns. That sounds like a good deal. Even me, I would go for that anyway. All right. Now it's time to introduce my panel today. All right. So let me start with Senator Jerun Ndwiga. Welcome to the show, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you.
This sounds like a good deal. Imagine you are running on Jubilee ticket and you're being funded. You'd go for that, right?
No.
Why?
I wouldn't. You don't just jump on any moving bus because there are suites in the bus.
Right.
You must know where the bus is going. Yes.
Okay. I'll get to more of that very briefly. Let me talk to Kevin Nyamai, who is a member of Parliament, Thika constituency. Mheshimiwa, karibu to the show.
Thank you so much.
Tujijenge party. What's building in the party, Tujijenge?
Thank you so much for having us.
Karibu sana.
Asante. We are grateful that you have considered us. I think Tujijenge means build ourselves.
Yes.
You give yourself an environment where you are able to sustain yourself and your family, and also the economy of the country.
Yes.
Plus many others. Yes.
All right. And Rose Mulwa, who is the gubernatorial aspirant and as well as in Machakos County. Mwesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
You're being sandwiched. Are you feeling the heat from both ends?
I feel very comfortable and very safe. Thank you so much for having us today.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me start with you now that you are on the microphone. The issue of party nominations is coming slated for April. And we are seeing a lot of politicians now crisscrossing from one party to another. What's the case? Is it because of the party nominations and the political parties bill, which bars many politicians from decamping from one party to another? Let me say most of the politicians are having tumbojoto, so to speak.
Yeah, I want to say I'm the party leader of Empowerment and Liberation Party.
Yes.
That is ELP. And this one was bound to happen, because that's why in my previous episode I've been telling people who are aspiring to be aspirant, I've been telling them you don't need to stick to a particular party because it has been there for a long time. We have got more than 82 political parties which are registered by the IBC and the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. And instead of going through Argon, I've been telling the aspirants to join any party. The idea is you have a vehicle which can take you to the August election date. And that's why this one was bound to happen and it's going to happen much more. And that's why we have got many parties and they have got alternatives. And the people who are affected mostly are the people who are in the big parties who have been there for a long time. And they went because they were going for a party. They were not going for their own wishes. They were not going so that they can be participants of in the election during the election in August. And for that, that's why I say we need neutral parties who can accommodate them. And like my party, I'm getting so many. We might not have been known at the national level, but now they are knowing us and they are coming in big numbers. And it's very unfair because what is happening, some people have been given direct ticket. And all along I said, in my party, that is Empowerment Liberation Party, we're not going for nominations. It's a platform where we want to accommodate
You're not
people.
going for nominations. Are you going to pick your candidate?
It's very interesting because from the beginning, I expressed the desire of the party and the objectives of the party that we don't go to nominations because there are enough parties in Kenya. And 82 parties, let's say, like Mheshimiwa, where he is running as a senator.
In Embu County.
I don't think there are 82 aspirants who want to be senators. They might be 2 or they might be 3. So I'm saying that, and there is nowhere in Kenya where you find 80 aspirants running as MCAs in one ward. They are less. So I think in future we are going to do away with these nominations because one thing is expensive and it is very emotional because people, some parties are here, the deeper the pocket, the chances you stand.
You know, when you talk about emotions, it's one of the biggest headache that you as politicians you're facing because you don't know, once you're nominated as given that nomination certificate, then you're as good as elected. Let me come to you, Mheshimiwa Senator. From your past experience, she's saying that very soon the issue of nominations will be scrapped off. So what next then?
I don't know when that will be. Because
that is just her wish, you know, depending on how things are right now.
Well, I say I don't know when that will be. But the essence of multipartyism is that people should gravitate towards parties which fulfill their beliefs. That this is what I believe in and I will move in this direction. Most of the times, it's also the communities where we come from. What do they believe in? What do they believe in? Now, what I would like to see are parties with very clear manifestos. And I would want to see a situation where in this country, that people don't just gravitate to a party because of the personalities in the party, the leadership of the parties, but just because they should gravitate towards parties which have clear manifestos that address the concerns of their people, that address the concerns of the country. That is what I would like to see. But in issues of nominations, I think they will be here for some time, for quite some time. Because even when we eventually get parties with clear manifestos, people, there'll be more than one person willing to join that party. So there must be a clear way of getting the candidate for that party. I have no problem with a party which just gives a direct ticket. I wish I could get one.
Talk to Mheshimiwa here. Mheshimiwa Nyamai, you know, what's in a party? Initially, before you moved to Jijenge Party, in which party?
It's the first time I'm vying as the MP.
Perfect.
I have never jumped into politics, although I had the passion to serve the people of Kenya in different capacities.
Yes.
But what is there in a party? Manifesto, vision. What is that you are carrying forward? What is that you want to do for the people? But before that, for anybody who is young, for you to be in politics, it means you need to have a very stable account.
Exactly.
And politics and campaigns are extremely very expensive when it comes to you making up to the nomination and beyond. So I think what my party leader is saying is that if you get a chance to get a direct nomination, it's as good as you're already in the ballot. Then it means that you have been hit the challenges of going to look for money.
Yes.
And one thing that people should know is that first-timers are really facing it hard to go across the nomination level because you need to pay the nomination fee and all that. Then it comes a time when you need to be censored. You only need one candidate to go for the main event.
Yes.
Then your money goes to drain and you are left out there. Many people are still going to serious depression because of this.
Yeah.
So I think way forward, I agree with what she has said, although like what Mheshimiwa has said, it might not be tomorrow, but actually if we have about 80 parties in Kenya, why not affiliate yourself with one of them? The idea is to serve, but you find that most of these people want to be associated with big parties, with big names and all that stuff.
Yes.
Because maybe you think when you are from a big party, you command more force in the ground. But when I was going around as an MP for Thika Town constituency, I discovered from the ground, people don't want to know the big parties. They want to know exactly what
the personality.
The personality.
Yes.
What is your background? What have you done? And what can you do different from what others have done? And I think that's the main important thing. The other thing is that we need to give voters that sensitization, education.
The civic education.
Civic education, which I think they have been bad so much. Very important.
You know, Mheshimiwa Njeru, the only thing that he's talked about is many politicians move from other parties because they think once you have a bigger party, quote unquote, then you will command masses. And therefore, you're as good as elected. From your own experience, you've jumped from which party to UDA now? Initially?
I did not jump from any party. We were all in Jubilee.
All in Jubilee?
Yeah, we're in Jubilee.
And then you moved to UDA?
UDA is just a sprint out of Jubilee.
I don't think so.
It is. It's just a sprint out of Jubilee.
I don't think so. Jubilee, UDA is a new political party.
Well, it is. Just look at all of us who are in Jubilee. That's why we are there.
So it's not a split. It's a new party away from Jubilee.
It's just the Catholic Church and the Protestants. They were the same thing at one time.
But I know the bitter truth here is that I know what you're trying to avoid, but anyway, the fact that that jump from Jubilee, the splinter from Jubilee to UDA right now, how is it resonating well with the common Mwananchi on the ground? Because they're looking at the personality at the same time they're looking at the party.
And most of the times is the people on the ground that tells you where to go. Most of the times. I have been in this politics for some time, and I know there's a time for the leader to lead and show people where they should go. You remember the days when we were fighting for multi-partyism, right? Now all these parties were not there. There was only CAN. Then parties emerged. And then you require to have leaders telling their people that this is the direction we should take. And that I'm going back to where I started from. I think of manifesto. What do you believe in? Yes. Which direction do you think the country should take?
Yes.
Right? We should take. And you listen to all sorts. Unfortunately, in this country, we do not have all these parties, all of them, ask them to put their manifesto on the table. They look like the same. Almost.
Actually, it's almost like a copy-paste.
It's like copy-paste, yes? So then what? So then you move to which house? You just move to the house which is convenient at that moment. Yes, convenient at that moment, because all of them are the same. But I would like to clearly see, and I really hope that we will get to that day, where these manifestos are clearly different, right?
Yes.
Or clearly directed to the extent that if I pick her manifesto and put it here and go through it, clearly I can see in my mind, when we talk about agriculture, this is the direction we are going. And we will never deviate from this direction, right? We're talking about ethos and ethics, that this is the direction we take as a party, and we will never divert from here. And anybody in this party who moves a step from here, we will throw them out of the party. And you see in developed countries that happens. In those developed countries, you know, people think like America has only 2 parties.
Yes.
That's not true. It has a myriad of parties, but only two parties at the end of the day you get to hear of. Why? Is because them, and very clearly, their manifestos are so, you know, are so clear-cut.
Yes.
Yes, so clear-cut. You are Republican, you are this because of this. You are Democrat because of this.
Yes.
And, you know, in those places, you could even go to a family where the head of the family is this party and the wife is the other and the children are, you know, depending on what you believe in. And
depending on what you believe in. If you look at the number of years that America has been independent,
that is correct.
Compared to us, we are still a toddler.
That is why I say that one day, yes, we are not there yet. That one day I hope we will move towards that.
Mheshimiwa Rose, you know, what Senator is talking about sounds more of, it's easy. But then, the copy-paste in our manifestos, it's you'll find Mheshimiwa Nyamai moving from one party, the following day he's the Secretary General of this party, he'll move to your party again, he's there the treasurer, another one goes to UDA, he's now the mobilizer in Embu County. All politicians gravitate. Like, for example, if you look at, so to speak, the big boys in the game, talk of Mheshimiwa William Ruto, talk of Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, deputy, all of them, at one point they were together. So they know the game pretty well. They know the corridors of politics pretty well. It seems that getting a unique manifesto will be so hard because you know each other. You've moved from one party to a party hopping.
I think if I can comment on this,
yes,
I don't see the manifesto changing that much because whether you come from the eastern side, western side, central, the needs of Kenyans are the same. And that's why you will see all the politicians, when they stand on the platform, they are talking about health, they are talking about roads, they are talking about unemployment, they are talking about corruption. It is the same thing. So there will not be much change in the manifesto because the basic needs of all Kenyans, irrespective of the county you come from, they are the same. So the most important thing is that we work as a team. And because politics is not a big thing or it is not a strange thing. When people hear the name politics, like when I started, they said, you have entered politics.
Yes.
Then I told them, do you know the meaning of politics? Politics are just activities where decisions are made.
You make it sound so easy.
They are just activities where decisions are made and how to share resources for every county or to distribute the resources to the citizens. It is a place where people make decisions how to take powers, positions, and that's why when you see when they go behind the scene and they say there was some agreement, there was some MOU, it is just a decision being made. Just the way you can say you have got office politics, you can have church politics. So it is just activities. It's not a bad thing, and that's why I'm telling Kenyans to wake up and not say politics are dirty. Politics are not dirty because decisions are made during the time by the politicians. And you don't let people who go there who make decisions which will have side effects, ill effects on your resources, on positions. And that's why I'm telling even all Kenyans, don't do politics behind the scene. Don't do politics.
What's so unique in your party, ELP?
Yeah. About ELP, the uniqueness of ELP is because it's not a regional party. Because most of the parties are regional. And they say, oh, ni mutu yetu. So we are going to that party. ELP, that is Empowerment Liberation Party, is a national party. And being as new as it is, I've got aspirants from all over the country.
Good.
From all the counties, from Lam to Western Kenya to Kisumu.
Yes.
Mount Kenya, I've got, is from Kiambu. Yes. I've got Kirinyaga, Machakos I have, Kitui, and everywhere. Kisii. So it is the uniqueness of Empowerment Liberation Party. It is a national party. And another thing about it, we give freedom to our aspirants. They are not known. They are forgotten. These are the people I'm calling as Empowerment Liberation Party to come in big numbers, wanishike mkono, so that we can tell Kenyans the story of politics must change. And with this, we'll stop talking about dynasties, we'll stop repeating people, and we'll start a new chapter. Because I feel Kenya, we have grown, we are big in numbers, we are many in numbers, and the way we have increased in population, the resources have increased, definitely, because we used to budget maybe 2 trillion, now it is over 10 trillion. That means, as we are increasing in number, we cannot say the resources are few because that we are many.
Yes.
God is not a man that he lies. He increases the number of people, he increases the resources. Yes. So there's enough for all of us.
Okay.
So the youth, I'm telling them, those who have been doing it behind the scene, please come in front and we do it and be partakers and make the decision. It is in decision making.
It is decision making.
Yeah.
All right, allow me to take a break. And when you come back, I still come back to you, Mheshimiwa, because I'm still interested to understand what's in a party. What's in a party? When you look at all the big names here, the party nominations, we have got the coalitions now. So many parties are now coming together to form coalitions, and some unique moves are happening. For example, Honorable Dalmas Otieno. Who imagined that Honorable Dalmas Otieno would move from ODM to Jubilee to Migori County? You understand what I'm saying? So what's in a party? So I'd like us to interrogate that further when you come back, and of course, matters of economy. Economy. And when I talk about economy, you as a mother in the middle, you know how it pinches the kitchen the most. We'll be right back after this.
What are you doing here? I'm wondering if you're too thick-skinned, or if it's true that you have no shame at all. I will not forgive you. I will destroy everything you have by hand.
For the
alive. I was working in establishment, and the salary that was paid has been there ever since up to the time I left. That does not mean that people are not feeling the heat about the change of economy every day. Inflation is seriously eating the common man. But the issue here is, in our manifestos, implementation has been the biggest problem. We give too much, we promise too much, but we are not able to implement and provide. That's exactly what ELP is coming to do. If we say that we'll work about water supply,
yes,
we want to segment, and especially now in the issues of water in Thika, it's a big problem in Thika constituency. I've gone around and I've seen that people are carrying jerrycan today. Well, we have two rivers, the Chania River and the Thika River. We need to come up with a very good, sustainable solution to this problem of the people. And again, make sure that water is a gone case in Thika town this time. So I have very good methods of how we will provide that water supply without challenges to the people of Thika, in collaboration with the Tuasco and other areas.
I'll come to that, to the party manifesto and your personal manifesto when the right time comes. But then, let me come to you, Mheshimiwa Senator. This is not the first time you're running for a political seat. When you were during the, when people were still fighting for the multi-party, way back in the 90s, we only had one party, KANU. And perhaps people toed the line because it was all the top from the executive and everybody else through to the councillors. Way back we had councillors. So there were party discipline. But as we speak right now, do we have party discipline? Because one politician can wake up and say, I'm decamping from this party. The following moment you see him or her in the party headquarters getting a coffee and off they go. The party discipline, perhaps that's what's lacking.
You see, first I want to go back to where we stopped, about parties, about parties. You know, the reason I am so keen on talking about manifestos is because unless you have a clear direction, if you are in a ship which has no compass, it will go wherever, and that has been the curse of this country. I'll take you back to the years when we got independence. What were Kenyans crying about? And what did our forefathers promise this country? That they will eliminate poverty. They will eliminate, they will deal with poor health. They will eliminate what Unjinga is what? Yes, right? Illiteracy, right? Those are the tenets that which built this country. Now, where are we at today? When you listen to politicians, are you hearing these things from those days? How this country was set up on a very, very, very steady, by a foundation. But what happened along the way? What happened along the way? These are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves.
Yes.
Do we want to keep reinventing the wheel? Let me tell you, one of the things that I'm interested in, that excites me about the party, about UDA, is about his manifesto. It's just about the only party right now that is talking about a clear roadmap. Then it is, now we're moving from bottom up. Now, what is bottom up? In my view, let's go back again to where this country started.
Right.
What did our forefathers do? This country was built on that principle. We started very strong cooperatives. Wherever you come from, all of you, you will know what the cooperatives of the day, that involve the common person, that what did they do coming up? And I will tell you, along the way, if we did not lose that focus, this country would be somewhere.
Okay.
And I will tell you,
yes.
And I will tell you, I want you to look at, because you want to look at why do we have unemployment, why do we have all these economic problems, we are going there.
Yes.
I want to take you to countries that were poorer than us. Then, in fact, I will take you to China. China is a cooperative country. And the principle of getting from down there up, is what has built that country. That today, Today, whatever you touch is a cooperative thing. I could take you to Iran. I've been to all those places. I could take you to Iran. And everything you touch is a cooperative. Even tractors that you import here are from cooperatives that started from doing small things, from Juakali things. Now they are where they are. But the moment you open up your country, you just open up your country,
yes.
Everybody come, bring whatever, and you forget to focus on your people. Country is about people. So you must focus on people. And that's why I'm excited about this, you know, moving from ground to
bottom-up economy.
Yes. Okay. It does not mean that the fellows who are up there will disappear. No. But you must move with the masses.
Okay. You know, you said something quite interesting, because when you look at, when you say the manifesto, for example, the party manifesto, the UDA as a party that you say is a splinter of the Jubilee Party.
Now it is a party on its own.
It's a party on its own.
Forget about this preaching.
So, so initially, before you decamped, before you moved to UDA, Jubilee had a good manifesto. Right now, it has a bad manifesto. Is that what you're trying to say?
No. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that we lost something along the way.
What was that, sir?
The thing we lost along the way was focus on people. Was focus on people. And I'll tell you, the Kenyatta government, clearly was focused on people. The first government,
right?
They had a very strong cooperative movement. I think you heard me.
Exactly.
Very strong.
Yes.
What happened along the way? It died. The Democratic Party, which I subscribe to, also had that in its manifesto, that we're going to grow the people from bottom and moving up. Okay. Kibaki revived the cooperatives, and the cooperative ministry also again, right, for the second time. Since then, the whole of Jubilee period, you did not hear of things like those. No. The focus was different. It was infrastructure, which is so good. I don't say that it's so very good. But where have you left the people, right? The people, you must move.
What's so much on the people? You know, that's what I'm trying to get, because what's so much on the people that when you talk of infrastructure, then you say, what's it the people? Infrastructure benefits almost everyone.
Absolutely.
Yes, Mheshimiwa Ross.
I think I want to commend here is a new party who has come in the scene of politics. Because when you talk of the big parties and the people have been there ahead of us, they have done their best. But one thing I ask, what went wrong? Because it's not a party. That's why I'm saying it's not a big party or the name of the party or the manifesto. You can have a very nice paper written down and you cannot even implement what you have written. I still feel that we are to, as Kenyans, we have the right to blame those who have been there ahead of us. Because they cannot say that something went wrong somewhere.
Yes.
It is like you give birth to children and you forget to educate one. What went wrong? That child is not wrong. Kenyans, those who are not being in politics, they can say they are not wrong, but we cannot sanitize ourselves. I want to say that any Kenyan who has ability and has reached the age of voting, that person is also to blame. I just feel that we are all corrupt Kenyans. And you know why I'm saying this with due respect? Because we are the ones who are putting people in the office when we know the integrity of the person is questionable. And because they are giving us some places, I've gone around and I see that Kenyans, we have that mindset, that mentality. Nipatie kitu kidogo ili nikupatie kura. And then when you are given that, you put in office the wrong person who is corrupt already. You have seen he is corrupt. And when he enters that, if he has given him, because the one who receives and the one who gives, they are both corrupt. So I want to tell Kenyans, we stop taking money from aspirants. And that's why it's very expensive for any politicians to campaign. I went around and I told them I'm not giving any money. I want you to tell me your problems. And with what is in the party is not what I give. Is coming, we work together. decide how resources are going to be shared. And for example, in ELP, Empowerment Liberation Party.
And actually, when I looked at the abbreviation, ELP and ELP almost the same.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. when you look at our object, there are some things which you cannot say, I can wait until I end office in August so that I can step in for that person.
Yes.
For example, I went to a place near Muranga and I found a child who had fallen from a tree and broken the leg. And there was no transport. The hospital, the health center, there is no, and doctor is just sitting and there is no medicine. They needed transport to take that child to Muranga. So based on that, I could not have told the parents, you wait until I end office in August so that I can step in and give you assistance. So that what I can say, politics, it's a continuous process. And I don't see why we wait until after 5 years is when it becomes such a big deal, because it's election year, it's election time. We want to see the politician who we are going to put in office, including myself, to be actively involved every day with the neighborhood, with the Kenyan citizens, and come out and we work together. I just want to say that we are failed Kenyans, also politicians, to the extent that we went so low economically. We have suffered so much with our professionals, people who need jobs, and just to say, people, there is no facility. There are no resources to facilitate people who want to do business. Maybe we cannot go get employment, all of us. There are those who want to do business, but there are no resources to facilitate them. So I feel we are also to blame. And I'm asking Kenyans, please, when you are choosing people, whether they are jumping from one party to the other one, it doesn't mean they are better. You can come, we can have new people, no new faces in politics, so that we can tell the old ones also who have been there for some time, step aside, because it's a job, as he said.
Exactly.
Why are people fighting for it? There must be something. 40 people are going for one position. There must be something very important. But again, I want to finish by saying, let us elect leaders, administrators. Let's look for qualities of leaders and administrators. People can manage and take care of our resources. But when we put politicians only, and the characteristic of a politician, they give promises all the time. Nitakufanyia hii, ukifanya hii nitafanya hii.
But that's all the basis. That's the basis of.
But
the basis of
leaders.
May I
yes, briefly come in before you come in, right?
Yes. What she's saying, because she's right to some extent. You know, if you go to the parliament, to parliament today, and look at the Hansard, look at the Hansard, and see, and you will see clearly that the level of leadership, the level of maturity that was there in perhaps the first, second, and third parliaments, right? Those are people who are passionate about country, very passionate about country.
Right.
Today, where I just agree with her is that the Kenyan electorate is also to blame. Because today, it is not about whether it's old or new. You hear very new who are really funny.
Exactly.
Who are directionless. What you want, what Kenyans don't want. Those days, I will remember, even before I was mature enough to elect a member of parliament, those fellows used to come to the village. All of them had addressed us. What were we picking? It's not just a personality, it's not anybody.
But what changed then?
It was, what we were picking then was somebody who thinks like us.
Yes.
Somebody who is answering my problems, who is focused on what my problems are. Now things changed when it came to, now the deeper your pocket, the more,
I think somebody can say that politics went
the more
commercial.
eligible,
Because if you have got financial muscle, then you're good to go.
And that is what has gone wrong. I can tell you, because I've been in there, that, and even some of us have seen these changes come along the way. Today, you get somebody elected as a member of parliament, and for 5 years they say nothing. Not even Mr. Speaker, sir. And they go out there and get re-elected. Go there and get re-elected again.
Yes.
Now, you ask that electorate, what is it If it is some good figure, a good handsome fellow you want them to see around the village, why take them to Parliament? Right? If you want a representative, you want a representative who represents you all the way, yes, in Parliament and everywhere, who carries, who articulates your aspirations and your needs wherever they are. Not just somebody because he's my neighbor, he's my clansman. That is what has killed this country, right?
Okay. You know what, Mheshimiwa Nyamai, when Mheshimiwa Ndwiga is talking about, he's been corridors of politics for quite some time. And I'm using him as a benchmark because when you speak of, there are people who have not gone to Parliament actually, there is always an annual report from Parliament. Members of Parliament who the only thing they said is to say aye, and that was it. They were sworn in, and every year you look at the Hansard, there's nothing said. But still they will go back to the electorate and say, you know what, I'm doing this and that. You know what? When you look at such politicians, they'll say, I don't have to speak in Parliament for all the legislative processes, but when I come back to the ground, I'm with the Mwananchi. And that's what people love.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. I think I want to talk to Kenyans, and more specifically, Thika Town constituency. You need to have a scorecard, because the moment you are elected to any position, whether it's an MCA, governor, all the way to the president, you are a servant of people. But we have looked like we are the bosses of the people. Now, this scorecard should be annual, because every year we are given some accounts, some financial funding by the government to go and serve people. Your people should hold you accountable, and then you, with a checklist of what you promised. And that's why I say, don't overpromise what you cannot give. I'll tell the people of Thika, I'll work with the issue of water, and then I'll cluster them as a professional in short term and long term. Because you cannot tell everybody, tomorrow I want to build an airport. There's so much.
Well, you don't have
so
resources.
You need to, yes, you don't have the resources. You need to have a checklist of short term and long term. Things that are doable. And you tell your people that at the end of this year, kindly we'll sit down. And why am I saying this? I say the leadership is about passion. And most of us, I'm sorry, it's the first time I'm coming in, but I've watched the previous leaders. Some of them have no passion, and they've gone for their own interest. Now, what am I going to do different from the others? I know maybe that is the question. I want to come up with a very unique system.
You know, you're going to your party manifesto, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
I'm still interested. I'll get into your party manifesto.
Yes.
I'm just generalizing in the matter of the party nominations and the party hopping, because what I'm trying to understand is the reason why, for example, why would Mheshimiwa Ndwiga, for example, senator here, move from one party to the next party? Because sometimes, let me put it this way, politicians always, they disappear in the woods and leave Wananchi on the other side of the field.
Yes.
So you find citizens and the electorates now moving in the dark, waiting, where's Mheshimiwa, Amenda wapi, Amenda to this party, okay, back again, this party. We've seen a number of MPs, or even some of the senators here. Today, they are getting a different coffee in a different color. The next moment, they are given a different color. And when you ask them, so why have you decamped, like, within a month, you've decamped like 3, 4, 5 parties? What is causing this kind of, anxiety to the politicians?
I think the key word, without beating about the bush, is greed. Greed by politicians.
Okay.
And making sure that you are comfortable.
That's dangerous.
That's very terrible for the Kenyans. And I think that's exactly what Kenyans should look at. What is the main purpose why Mr. X and Y is vying for this position? And immediately you are voted in by the Kenyans. How do we vote you? Is it because of the money? Is it because of the many things that you gave?
Yes.
They are tangible things. Now we are giving lesos, kofias, name it. In a way of trying to lure for votes. What about after 9th August? What happens? We don't appear until the last few months of the election. What are you doing?
Because after 9th August, you become the bosses. You'll never get hold of your mission.
That's the thing.
To speak.
The issue is we need to change the narrative of leaders. That what we tell our people at the ground, you do it. And I think the Wananchi should be able to put leaders into account. They have the power to demonstrate. If they demonstrate today because Mr. X and Madam X promise them to give money for some mobilization for something, or maybe to work against, because politicians are funny. I'll work against you because they punch the most painful things. When you're in politics, you expect to be told how weak you are in your language, how poor you are in terms of administration, your family, social and everything. But now the issue here is, let the Kenyans know what is that we're looking for.
Yes.
Not the financial muscles, not the sweet words, but they should evaluate these people as per the way they put their ideas together.
Yes.
And I think in LP, we are looking at sincerity, very sincere. And for example, myself, when I decided to come out of class, I asked myself 3 questions. Why am I going out? Am I sincere? Will I be able to? How will I be a role model? Those are things that you need to ask yourself as a leader. Unfortunately, many leaders don't ask themselves those questions. They go out because they have money, they're able to lure and muscle out.
Yes.
And that's why they can jump from this ship to this ship. So I think Kenyans need to a time to come up with a unique way of vetting you.
Exactly.
And come up with a scorecard. Yeah.
You know, Mheshimiwa Rose, that brings me to my next question, the issue of vetting. We are soon going for a nomination, and you know, it's a crunch time that each and every politician is now running around to impress the party leader. Let me ask you, are political parties personal properties? That I have to come and dance and, you know, and impress you and give you the best move and say, good, Victor, you have my ticket.
Let me comment on this one.
Yes.
Just to add a bit on what he said about the aspirants jumping from one political party to the other. I think this one, I call it political conmanship, and this is a habit. This is, we are talking about habits which people are continuing to portray. And I say this with due respect because I had one aspirant, MCA, and of Ndidine. And this man, he came, we did the paperwork, I even visited the area and I saw the suffering of the people, and I did a lot of things there to help the people because there was a lot of problem. And then after 1 week, he sent me SMS. I have been nimenunuliwa expensively. So I'm no longer with the ALP, I'm with another party. So that he has gone to Wiper. He has been bought expensively. And you can see that is what we are talking about, character. It's very interesting because the people there reacted very bad because they asked, Madam, why are you coming again? And this is a place where so many people are suffering. A woman walking 5 kilometers, pregnant, in labor, and she cannot reach hospital. She dies on the road.
Yes.
That kind of thing. And the person who they want to put in office in August has been bought expensively. And I told them, why don't you ask him to give you some money to take this child to hospital? He said it is his money, that what he has received. So we are saying that we have got people who are entering politics without conscience integrity. And this is a thing where we should re-examine ourselves and know that if a person is going to die because of lack of medical services, you are something to answer to God, even if you don't answer to the Kenyans.
Yes.
Because we saw during the time of COVID, whether you are rich or poor, you got COVID, you either died or recovered in Kenya because borders were closed. To answer the question you asked me, political party is not a personal property. And because if I get an aspirant from any county, I cannot go to manage that place. I'm telling people, when you come to the ELP, you are not coming to a person who is going to be supervising the counties. You come,
the fear most people have is that if you're not in good terms with the party leader, who is always perceived as the owner of the party, then you are doomed.
With the Empowerment and Liberation Party, I don't even want to have a say in it. Because I said it is for the silent majority, the silent sufferers.
Yes.
And I told them, go there and decide how to run. For example, he was teaching at a university, and for him to leave that job and come to join Empowerment and Liberation Party, he saw he was not risking himself for under somebody who is going to be dictatorial and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Everybody has freedom because we are past that age of when we had one party, Takano. We know one party, it was not easy.
Yes.
You could not say certain things. But here with democracy, I think I don't need to be to say the final word.
Exactly.
The final say in the matters of empowerment and liberation party. So it's a party where people are liberated.
Okay.
And that's why the name says empowerment and liberation.
You
Change
empower
mindset.
and liberate.
Yeah. Liberate them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Senator, we have a recall clause, and it's one of the most dormant clauses in our constitution, that when you look at the number of MPs, people who you get them elected, they go, we look at the Hansard, the only thing they said was sworn in, so help me God, kaput. Until after 5 years, they'll come back. The recall clause, how can we make it active?
It should be made active. You know, I think the only time that it was close to being made active was in Makueni.
Yes.
Was in Makueni. Almost. Kenyans don't even understand it exists. Yes. Most Kenyans don't even understand that it exists. Yes. So they will live with a mediocre leadership. They will live with mediocre leadership for 5 years. And that's it. It's because they don't understand that they don't know it.
Yes.
That it exists. One. The number two, this member of parliament, mark you, he has got 160 million shillings a year, right? So you come to your village and say, I'm going to do your school. I'm going to give you a bus. And you sometimes you think that is work. But that is not work, because that can be done by anybody. That's the distribution of funds, which are already preset. They are there for all members of parliament. They'll be given. So, and people confuse that with work of a member of parliament. Work of a member of parliament is registration. You go to parliament and registrate. You go to parliament and, because every week, whatever is on that order paper, there's something that affects your people. And not just your people. Moment you are elected, you are not even, you are not in that cocoon, constituency.
Okay.
You are national member, that's why you are in the National Assembly.
Okay.
So issues, you are required to go out there and articulate issues.
I'm told we are running out of time because we are crossing over to Radio Taifa. Okay. But before then, I have a question for you. Just 1 minute, Director. There's a question for you here, Senator. Health is devolved, and one of the mandates of the Senate is to oversee on how counties are carrying on their work. There has been a lot of grievances on how patients are receiving services, and especially on lab test in Embu level 5 and being sent to purchase medicine out. Where did we go wrong? As a senator of the county, how have you or are you planning to help here? I think that must be your constituent.
Yes. Now, that's a very, very, very good issue, because I thought we would get there. Because we have dealt on peripheral things. I thought we would get the main thing, and that's the main thing.
No, even the party hopping is a main thing, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay.
It affects even you.
Why are our people suffering?
Yes.
Yes. Why are our people suffering? With the new constitution, we created devolution. And with devolution, we created devolution because we wanted resources, national resources, to get down to the grassroots. But what has happened? Why is that? I think, three governors in trouble over graft. I don't know why three. I am a member of the County Public Accounts Committee. In fact, that's where I'm going from here. So I'm going from here. I can tell you that the amount of wastage of national resources happens down there. What is happening in Embu has never been heard anywhere else. In fact, the person writing that does not even know the slightest. About Embu, are we through? Can I answer?
The director is shouting in my ear saying...
Tell the director, you asked me a question which I need
director,
to answer.
just give him 1 second.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second, director.
Okay.
And I thank you for it.
Okay.
What's happening in Nembu is pathetic. Pathetic. That hospital, we have got equipment which we are paying for from the national government. It is properly equipped. But today, what the person says there is correct. You go out there, there are absolutely no services. In some of the hospitals in Embu, if you're going to see your patient, you also carry water. And we have got Madam here. Can you imagine a woman in labor or in the maternity that you want to go and see them, you have got to carry water for them? That's what's happening in Embu today. It's so rotten. Okay. Yet we are not seeing those things happening here. There are some arms of government which are failing us. Yes, which are failing us. That all the money that goes down to the counties, the level of graft. In fact, that beats what is happening upstairs. Yes, level of graft in the counties. That's what must be dealt with.
Senator, allow me to invite you here next week because you're going to a committee right now, and perhaps we can discuss more in terms of even talk about 3 governors have been subjected to investigations by the EACC because of corruption.
Very few.
Exactly.
And please, can I save him?
Okay.
It is not only Ebu.
Running out of time. Okay, so we are closing this particular discussion and heading straight to Radio Taifa, where we have got government spokesman, that is Cyrus Oguna, discussing more on national issues. Straight to the Radio Taifa section.
Mtazamaji, chini kwa chini, nyota ndogo, kibao tamu sana, Amani. Amani, tunataka amani ya kutuleta pamoja. Msikilizaji, ni mwanamuziki nyota ndogo na kibao Amani, ikiwa hivi sasa ni saa 2:08 saa za kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Mahali popote ulipo, unatizama runinga ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi ni Good Morning Kenya, na moja kwa moja unatusikiliza kupitia KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya. Ndani ya studio, msikilizaji, tunaye mgeni, na mgeni huyu si mwingine bali ni msemaji wa serikali, kanali mstaafu Cyrus Oguna yuko ndani ya studio. Lakini kwanza nimpishe mwenzangu Chozi la Almasi.
Asante sana msikilizaji na mtazamaji popote pale ulipo. Kama alipotangulia kusema mwenzangu, ni kwamba uko ndani ya Radio Taifa, na vile vile unatupata kupitia KBC Channel 1 kupitia Good Morning Kenya, au sio? Msikilizaji, kama alivyotangulia kusema mwenzangu, ni kwamba Cyrus Oguna ni nani haswa? Labda ndio swali ambalo wewe ambaye labda unafungulia radio yako ama ndio unafungulia radio TV yako unajiuliza. Unaambiwa kabla ya uteuzi wake Rashid, Oguna alihudumu kama msemaji wa pamoja wa mradi wa ramani ya kitaifa na rasilimali. Kati ya mwaka 2014 na 17 alihudumu kama mshauri wa ulinzi atachika katika tume ya juu ya Kenya katika Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Oguna pia anajulikana zaidi kwa jukumu lake la msimamizi wa ofisi ya masuala ya umma ya jeshi la ulinzi la Kenya na msemaji wa KDF mwanzoni mwa operesheni Linda Nchi, wadhifa ambao alishikilia kwa miaka 3 kati ya mwaka 2011 hadi 2013. Na Oguna alikuja kujulikana wakati wa KDF alipoingia Somalia mwaka wa 2011.
Bila shaka msikilizaji, akijulikana kwa ufasaha wake wa lugha ya Kiswahili na matangazo yake mufti alipokuwa msemaji wa kikosi cha KDF kule nchini Somalia, ambapo alikuwa akipasha taifa la Kenya na Wakenya kuhusu mambo yanavyokwenda katika nchi ile. Kumbuka vile vile pia yeye amewahi kuwa msimamizi wa wafanyikazi, ama ameshikilia nyadhifa mbalimbali zinazohusiana na usimamizi wa wafanyikazi, utenda kazi, mafunzo na mawasiliano na KDF na serikali. Na kabla ya hili mtazamaji na msikilizaji, Oguna aliongoza shule ya ujasusi ya KDF.
Bana wena, Oguna ana shahada ya uzamili ya sanaa kutoka chuo kikuu cha Nairobi na amesomea shahada ya pili ya uzamili katika masomo ya kimataifa kutoka taasisi hiyo hiyo. Yeye pia ni mhitimu wa chuo cha kitaifa cha ulinzi Kenya. Wakati wa taaluma yake, Oguna alitunukiwa medali kadhaa ambazo ni pamoja na Moran wa agizo la burning spear.
Alright, kumbuka msikilizaji, hii ni Radio Taifa na kipindi hiki unakipata pia moja kwa moja kupitia runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi Good Morning Kenya. Kwa hiyo vipindi viwili vinaoana kwa wakati mmoja. Yani kwa mara ya kwanza msikilizaji, msemaji wa serikali ameoanisha vipindi viwili, ameoanisha Zinga kupitia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya na ameoanisha Good Morning Kenya. Sijui hapa kadhi leo atakuwa ni Victor ama kadhi atakuwa ni Ben wa Kamuti. Msikilizaji, basi bila kupoteza nukta, sekunde wala dakika, tumkaribishe ndugu Cyrus Oguna. Karibu sana ndani ya studio zetu, umsalimie msikilizaji kabla kuanza mahojiano.
Asante sana ndugu Rashidi, dadangu, asante pia na kila msikilizaji na mtazamaji wote, nasema ni asante kwa kunikaribisha kwenye kipindi cha leo.
Asante sana.
Alright, bila shaka mtazamaji, hivyo ndivyo mambo yalivyo, na naona kidogo Bwana Spokes ukaribie microphone, ndio tukusikie vizuri kabisa.
Hata tungeipandisha juu kidogo tu. Samahani sana kwa hilo.
Okay, labda kuna yule alikuwa haja kusikia vizuri. Naomba uchukue fursa hii kwa mara nyingine tena, msalimie msikilizaji wa Radio Taifa na mtazamaji wa KBC.
Asante sana. Kwanza nasema ni asante kwa kunikaribisha kwenye kipindi cha leo. Pia kwa wale ambao wanatutazama na kutusikiliza, nasema ni pia asante sana kwa wale ambao ni mashabiki wa Radio Taifa. Ndio. Alright, labda tu Bwana Spokes, tukianza, je, tuna takriban siku 140 hivi tufikie uchaguzi mkuu. Hali ya usalama nchini Kenya kabla kwenda kwenye uchaguzi iko vipi? Tumesema kwa mara nyingine tena kwamba hatutaki fujo tena. Tumekuwa na kasumba kwamba kila baada ya miaka 5 kunakuwa na tatizo. Kipindi hiki tunasema kwamba hakutakuwa na shida yoyote. Uchaguzi utafanywa kwenye mazingira ya amani, na kama serikali tuko tayari kuhakikisha kwamba hilo limetekelezwa. Kwa hivyo tuko tayari kuhakikisha kwamba mazingira ya amani yatatawala kipindi cha uchaguzi.
Kuna wale ambao wanauliza Bwana Cyrus, ndio kuna maeneo ambayo huwa yanamakiwa kama hotspot. Je, sijui kama serikali mmefikia mahali hapo, mshajua maeneo haya na mikakati iko vipi?
Tumeshajua kila sehemu. In fact tumeangalia nchi nzima ambapo tunajua sehemu ambazo kunakuwa na tatizo wakati wa uchaguzi, na kama serikali tumeweka juhudi ya kuhakikisha kwamba maeneo hayo watu wanapiga kura kwa njia ya amani. Kwa hivyo kila kitu kimepangwa na kiko tayari kutekelezwa. Ndio.
Labda nikirukia swali la mimi niulize hapa, nini hivi husababisha njaa ama baa la njaa, na kama serikali hatua gani ambazo zimechukuliwa kuzuia na kupunguza tatizo hili, na mko katika hatua ya kupunguza ama kumaliza?
Kwa kweli njaa ni kitu ambacho kinasababisha na mambo mengi. Hasa kwa nchi yetu mambo mengi yamechangia kwa kuleta tatizo ambalo kwa sasa hivi tunakumbwa nalo. Ya kwanza ni ile tunaita kwa lugha ya Kizungu climate change. Yani mabadiliko ya hali ya hewa duniani. Climate change imebadilisha mambo mengi sana. Kile ambacho ningeuliza ni kwamba nini inasababisha climate change? Kuna mambo mengi, mambo ya kumekuwa na nchi nyingi ambazo kwa kweli zinatumia makampuni ambazo zinaleta mvuke kwenye hewa, na kwa hivyo inasababisha joto kali kuwepo. Kwa hivyo sio sisi kama wa Kenya, sio sisi kama Afrika, ni dunia nzima. Hiyo ni moja. Lakini ya pili ni kwamba tuko na mazoea sisi kama, nadhani kwamba nchi ambazo ni changa, kwamba watu wengi wanakata miti aidha kwa sababu kwamba ya kutafuta jinsi ya kuweza kupata riziki, ama katika ile njia ya kupata jinsi ya kuweza kupika chakula. Kwa hivyo tunakata miti sana kiholela holela. Kwa hivyo zote zinachangia na mambo hayo. Kwa hivyo sasa hivi tukisema ni kwamba kuna watu wengi nchi hii karibu takriban 2.8 ambao wako na tatizo hilo, lakini tunasema kama serikali hatuwezi zuia ukame kuwepo. Hatuwezi, maana ukame ni kitu ambacho nimesema ni inatokana na mambo mengi. Sisi kama serikali kile ambacho tunazafanya ni kwamba kupunguza makali yake ya ukame huo. Kwa hivyo njia ya kupunguza makali yake ni kwamba tunapeana chakula na msaada kwa wale ambao wameathirika.
Labda Bwana Oguna, umeweza kusema kwamba serikali katu haiwezi kuzuia swala la ukame, na ni swala ambalo linakumba tu si Kenya peke yake bali mataifa mengi kote ulimwenguni. Je, labda miaka 58 ya uhuru kama taifa la Kenya, je, kuja na tangible solution kwamba ndio hatuwezi kuepuka ukame lakini tuna suluhu fulani?
Kwa kweli swali nzuri sana, maana kitu ambacho tunaangazia kila wakati kwamba kwa kweli kwa miaka 58 tangu tupate uhuru kuna juhudi ambazo serikali imekuwa ikitekeleza. Juhudi hizo ni kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba nyakati kumekuwa na ukame, ni kwamba Mkenya asiwe kila mara anaangalia serikali kwa wapi kumpatia msaada, ni kwamba yeye mwenyewe awe katika hali ya kuweza peke yake kujitosheleza maisha yake, yeye mwenyewe aweze kujishughulikia. Kwa hivyo tume kama serikali tumeanzisha juhudi ambazo ni za kuhakikisha kwamba kuna ile tunaita long term solution, zile suluhu za kudumu. Mojawapo ni kwamba kuna maeneo ambazo kila mwaka kunakuwa na tatizo la kiusalama. Hiyo ni moja. Tatizo hilo ni kwamba tuko nyakati ambazo kumekuwa na shida ya kiusalama, ni kwamba watu hawezi kufanya shughuli zao za kila siku, za kwenda shambani, za kufanya biashara. Kwa hivyo kile tunafanya kama serikali ni kuweka mikakati ya kwamba watu ambao wanakuwa na tatizo hilo wanaweza kuongea na wakasuluhisha mambo yao. Kwa hivyo tumeleta ile tunaita alternative dispute resolution mechanism, ya kutumia wazee wa mashinani ya kuweza kuongea wao wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Tatizo hilo linaletwa na kwamba wakati kumekuwa na ukame ni kwamba malisho yanapungua, maji yanapungua. Kwa hivyo nakuta sehemu yenye maji, wale wenye mifugo wanapopeleka maji pale, wale ambao wanaishi katika maeneo hayo wanakuwa na shida ya kuweza kuwapokea. Kwa hivyo tunafahamisha kwamba tukae kwa amani, sisi wote tupendane. Nyakati kunakuwa na tatizo la malisho kwa sehemu moja, sehemu nyingine basi waruhusiwe kuleta mifugo yao pale kwa njia ya amani. Kwa hivyo ukiangalia pakubwa sana ni kwamba tatizo la kiusalama katika maeneo mengi za nchi hii yamepungua sana. Ukiangalia kwa ukubwa sana, ukiangalia maeneo za Tana River, Garissa, hadi unapoelekea maeneo za Turkana na Lodwar kule, yamepungua pakubwa mno. Japokuwa kuna sehemu chache ambazo bado ziko na tatizo hiyo, lakini kwa pakubwa ni kwamba tumekuwa na mazingira ya amani karibu nchi nzima. Ile ni moja. Ya pili ni kwamba tunajaribu kutengeneza mabwawa za maji, ile kwamba nyakati kumenyesha ni kwamba maji yaweze kutekwa na yaweze kuhifadhiwa, ambapo nyakati kumekuwa na ukame basi maji yatakuwepo. Kwa hivyo kuna mabwawa mengi yametengenezwa na serikali, zile zilikuwepo zikaharibika pia zinarekebishwa. Hiyo ipo. Nyingine ni kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na barabara inasaidia kwa njia ipi? Ni kwamba nyakati ambazo kuna ukame na mifugo yanaathirika, ni kwamba mkulima atapata njia rahisi ya kwenda kuuza yule mnyama kabla hajaathirika. Hiyo ipo. Lakini pia tunaangazia mambo ya shule na mambo ya afya pia. Mambo ya shule na afya kiasi cha kwamba ni kwamba tunapeana chakula kwa shule kwamba watoto waweze kusoma. Manake njia mojawapo ya kupunguza makali ya ukame ni kwamba watu wawe ni elimu, lakini wawe pia na maelezo. Kwa hivyo tunasaidia kwamba watoto wakae shuleni ili waweze kusoma. Ya pili ni katika hiyo ngazi ni kwamba tunapeana pia dawa. Kwa hivyo hospitali ziko na dawa ili kwamba watoto wawe na afya nzuri ili waweze kusoma.
Alright, msikilizaji, mambo ndo kama hayo, ikiwa ni saa 2:18 saa za kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Unaisikiliza KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya, kipindi hewani ni Zinga, na wakati huo pia unatizama runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi Good Morning Kenya, tukiwa naye msemaji wa serikali Kanali mstaafu Cyrus Oguna, tukiweza kuzungumzia kuhusiana na swala zima hili la miradi ya serikali na vile vile pia masuala ya chakula humu nchini. Mimi naitwa Rashid Mwamkondo, mwenzangu anaitwa Chuzi la Almasi, na upande wetu ule wa pili tunao wenzetu Victor, na vile vile pia tuko naye Doreen, na vile vile pia tuko naye Jen. Kwako Chuzi.
Naam, umezungumzia miradi. Naibu wa rais anadai kwamba mafanikio ya serikali ya Jubilee na miradi mingi tu imepangwa kwake Karen. Je, naibu wa rais ana haki ya kusema hayo? Wewe kama msemaji wa serikali, nataka kusumbua tu kidogo. Unasemaje?
Unajua naibu wa rais ni kiongozi kwa nchi hii. Kwa hivyo kuna haki ya kusema chochote ambacho kiko kwenye wadhifa wake. Kwa hivyo sitaweza kusema chochote kuhusu kile ambacho naibu wa rais amesema. Ndio.
Alright, ulizungumzia bwana Oguna swala la mabawa, yani dams. Serikali imepiga hatua kubwa katika swala hili. Je, vipi kuhusiana na boreholes? Alafu hapo kama mabawa bwana Oguna, ndio inasemekana kwamba kuna kesi mbalimbali zinaendelea, watu walifuja pesa za kutengeza dams. Sijui mambo yataisha lini na yamefikia wapi bwana Spokes?
Najua kile ambacho unataka kusema na kumaanisha Aror na Kamwarer. Ungetaja tu moja kwa moja. Lakini kitu ambacho kwa sasa hivi iko chini ya mahakama na uchunguzi unaendelea. Kwa hivyo kile ambacho ningependa kuomba wewe pamoja na wasikilizaji ni kwamba wasubiri kwamba uchunguzi umalizike, na alafu pia tusubiri uamuzi wa mahakama. Sasa kile ambacho kiko mbele ya mahakama hatuwezi tukaongelea kwenye mjadala kama huu. Naomba tu. Ila tu ningependa kuongeza kwamba kuna mabawa mengine mengi sana ambazo kwa sasa hivi zingine zishaanza kufanya kazi, zingine bado zinaendelea. Moja wapo ikiwa ni Thwake Dam ambayo inaendelea kule maeneo za Makweni, kuna Tiba Dam inaendelea, kuna pia Mwache Dam ambao karibu itaanza katika maeneo za za Kwale. Kwa hivyo mambo mengi yanaendelea hapa nchini ya kuweza kusaidia katika ile hali ya kukuza chakula kwa wananchi wetu.
Bila shaka msikilizaji, ni msemaji wa serikali ndugu Cyrus Oguna yuko ndani ya studio na tunapiga mbizi hapa. Kumbuka ni kipindi ambacho kinaonyeshwa moja kwa moja kupitia runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1. Kumbuka kipindi ni Good Morning Kenya na upande wetu ni Zinga. Mimi naitwa Rashid na mwenzangu anaitwa Chozi. Tukiendelea mbele na Bwana Spokes, labda kuna swala ambalo linajitokeza hapa. Nimekuona tangu juzi uko katika maeneo mbalimbali ya taifa letu la Kenya ukiongoza serikali kugawanya chakula. Je, juhudi hizo zimefikia wapi? Wapi kumebakia? Na pengine je, chakula ambacho mmekipeana kutokana na kiangazi kinatosha?
Kwa kweli juhudi za serikali zipo, zinaendelea, lakini nadhani pia ningependa kuongezea kwamba ama kusema kwamba juhudi hizo ziko katika ngazi tofauti. Kuna ngazi ya kwanza ambao tulianzisha mwaka jana mwezi wa 12 ambayo ilikuwa ni kupeana pesa moja kwa moja kwa wananchi. Na kwa sababu tulikuwa tukitoka kwa mfumo wa kupeana chakula hapo awali, tukaja kwa kupeana pesa moja kwa moja kwa simu ya yule mlengwa. Ambapo tulikuwa tumepeana takriban shilingi milioni 680 mwaka jana. Alafu hiyo Disemba mwaka huu pia Januari na mwezi wa pili pia pesa kama hiyo milioni 680 kwa wale ambao ni walengwa. Lakini pia tukapata changamoto ambazo nitataja. Changamoto ya kwanza ni kwamba utakuta katika maeneo mengine kuna wale ambao wameathirika lakini hawana simu. Sasa ile pesa inaenda kwa simu. Kwa hivyo sasa kama mtu ni mwathirika na hana simu, basi ile pesa hatapata. Unaona? Hiyo ni moja. Lakini ya pili, kuna maeneo pia hazina network, yani mtandao. Ambapo nakuta kwamba pamoja na kwamba kuna simu lakini mtandao haupo, ili inakuja ni kiswasua. Kwa hivyo nakuta nyakati fulani pesa imefika kwa simu lakini hajapata. Nyakati hizo yeye ako na njaa, anasubiri pesa ipo lakini hawezi kaipata. Umeelewa? So serikali kwa busara yake kaamua kwamba pamoja na kwamba pesa itakuwa ikiingia kwa simu, lakini pia watapeana chakula moja kwa moja. Kwa hivyo tunaenda kwa lugha ya Kizungu tuna ile hybrid system ya kwamba kuna hela lakini pia kuna chakula, ambapo kwa sasa hivi awamu ya kwanza ya kupeana chakula imemalizika kwa kaunti 23. Tuseme 24 kwa sababu kwamba hizo kaunti 23 ni zile tunajua kila wakati zinakuwa na tatizo la ukame. Ilikuwa ni zile tunaita ASAL counties. Lakini pia kuna zingine kama Nyeri sio ASAL county, lakini hapo unakuta maeneo kama za Kieni, ni maeneo yenye utata. Maeneo za Homa Bay, Nyatike, maeneo zenye utata. Kwa hivyo kuna sehemu ambazo sio baadhi ya zile counties 23, lakini pia tumepeleka chakula kule. Kwa hivyo awamu ya kwanza kwa county 24 imeshamalizika. Kwa hivyo wiki ijayo ni awamu ya pili ya kupeana chakula kwa wale ambao wameathirika. Now, umeuliza kama chakula kinatosha. Yani kwa kweli ni chakula cha ziada tu. Kwa sababu kwamba uwezi patia mtu ile tunaita 5 course meal. Ni ile chakula cha ziada kwa sababu mtu huyu sio kwamba hana chochote kabisa, ni kwamba ako nacho lakini imepungua. Kwa hivyo sisi tunaongezea tu kama serikali. Umeelewa? Kwa hivyo tuzidi kufanya hivyo hadi nyakati ambazo mvua itakapokuja.
Na msikilizaji, zimekatika dakika 23 baada ya saa 2. Kama ndio unafungulia radio ya kwako huko ndani ya KBC Radio Taifa, kwa yule ambaye anatutazama kwenye runinga, basi unatupata vile moja kwa moja kupitia Good Morning Kenya. Mwaka wa 2019 ulitolewa kama msemaji wa serikali. Utakuwa unaelewa fika miradi ambayo imewekwa kati ya kutimizwa, ipi imetimizwa na ipi inaendelea.
Na miradi za serikali zile zimetimizwa ni nyingi mno. Sana tu. Yani hata nikiweza kusema kutaja hapa zitakuwa nyingi kibao. Kwa kweli. Ukiangalia Kipevu ishakamilika. Dongo Kundu bypass imekamilika. SGR imekamilika. Nairobi Express karibu kamilike. Kuna barabara nyingi kutoka Isiolo kuelekea Moyale imeshakamilika. Kwa hivyo miradi nyingi, Thoke Dam karibu kamilike. Tiba Dam. Kwa hivyo miradi ni nyingi sana.
Kuhusu barabara na maji sana
barabara na maji, barabara nimetaja. Kuna barabara hiyo nimetaja kutoka Bamba Salagate imeisha. Barabara kutoka Isiolo kuelekea Moyale imeisha. Kutoka Lamu Garsen yote imeisha. Kuna barabara ya sasa hii ya kutoka, kuna hii ya pia Nairobi Northern Bypass imeisha. Kuna bara za kutoka Ahero interchange hadi Sebania imeisha. Barabara za kutoka pia Kitale kuelekea Lodwa imeisha. Kwa barabara ni nyingi ambazo zimeshakamilika, lakini pia vile kuna nyingi ambazo zinaendelea. Umeelewa? Nadhani kwamba kile ambacho jambo la kimsingi hata sio barabara tu, ni kusema kwamba kufikia kipindi hiki ama kwa wakati huu zile barabara ambazo zimewekwa lami ni kilomita ngapi? Umeelewa? Nafikiri itakuwa ni swali nzuri zaidi tunapokuta pamoja, tofauti na kutaja barabara moja kwa moja. Umeelewa? Japokuwa pia vile unavyosema ni sawa tu, lakini tuseme hivi, kuna sehemu ambazo kwa nchi hii tangu tulipopata uhuru hawajaona lami. Unaona? Moja wapo ikiwa ni kutoka Isiolo kuelekea Moyale, ambapo inachukua siku 2 kutoka ama siku 3 kutoka Moyale kufikia Isiolo. Kuja Nairobi ni kama siku 5 mawiki. Kwa sasa hivi ni masaa 10 tu. Inamaanisha kwamba tunatoka Moyale ukaja kalala Isiolo, alafu kesho yake uko Nairobi. Hapo awali ilikuwa ni wiki mzima. Kwa hivyo pamoja na kwamba ni vizuri kujua barabara, lakini sasa tunaangalia manufaa yake ni ipi. Ni kwamba imefanya usafiri kuwa rahisi, inachukua muda mfupi, nauli pia ni ndogo, ina watu wanaweza kufanya biashara zao. Ni kitu muhimu sana.
Labda msikilizaji tu labda angependa tu kuongezea, labda kando ya barabara, labda kuna miradi gani mingine ambayo labda ipo inaendelea ambayo hatujui isipokuwa barabara, na kwamba kuna dams.
Kuna dams imetaja pia. Kuna Toake Dam ambayo ni hapo rais alikuwa pale. Kuna Tiba Dam inaendelea. Kuna kuna Ahero Ahero irrigation scheme. Kuna pia na jengo pale damu ya kuweza kuzuia kwamba kusiwe na mafuriko. Kuna Budalangi inaendelea. Kuna Kwanza Isiolo inaendelea. Kwa hivyo kuna madams nyingi kibao ambazo zipo zinaendelea. Kile ambacho labda pia tungesema tu ama kuongezea ni kwamba nia ya serikali hasa ni kufanya maisha ya Mkenya kuwa rahisi. Ili kwamba kila Mkenya aweze kupata mazingira, sio kwamba ya kuchapa biashara tu, lakini pia apate ile tunapata urahisi wa kimaisha. Na sisi kama serikali nia yetu kubwa ni kuweza kusambaza huduma kwa wananchi. Kusambaza huduma kwa njia gani? Iwani huduma ya barabara ipo, huduma ya hospitali ipo, huduma ya usafiri upo, huduma ya shule ipo, huduma ya afya ipo. Kwa hivyo mambo mengi sana. Ukiangaza hata na juzi rais alikuwa, tukiangazia mambo ya masuala ya afya, rais alikuwa Mombasa juzi akizindua mradi wa ugonjwa wa saratani. Hivi leo tunapoongea kuna hospitali ama maeneo ambazo hapo awali ilikuwa ni kwamba unapopata ugonjwa wa saratani ama figo unakuja Nairobi. Kwa sasa hivi kila county ni kwamba unapopata ugonjwa wa figo unatibiwa pale pale. Ni hatua kubwa tumepiga katika masuala ya afya ya wa Kenya wote kwa ujumla. Kwa hivyo miradi ni nyingi sana ambazo kutaja zote itakuwa ni vigumu.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, kumbuka itakapotimia saa 2:30 tutakwenda kupata mapumziko mafupi, alafu tutarudi tena hewani. Kama ndo kwa sasa unafungulia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya, kipindi hewani ni Zinga, na studioni tuko naye msemaji wa serikali Kanali mstaafu Cyrus Oguna, na vile vile pia kumbuka ni kipindi ambacho unakipata moja kwa moja kupitia runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi Good Morning Kenya. Labda tuko hizi dakika 2 bwana Spokes kabla twende kwenye mapumziko. Tumeona kwamba Rais Uhuru Kenyatta katika hatamu yake kuna baadhi ya taasisi ambazo amedai kwamba zina utepetevu, amezichukua na kuweza kuzipeleka katika idara ya jeshi ikiwemo Kenya Meat Commission. Je, unadhani kwamba hatua hii itasaidia zile taasisi za umma kufanya kazi vizuri?
Nadhani kwamba niseme hivi. Hapo Kenya Meat Commission umetaja hiyo. Zamani ilikuwa ni kwamba kupeana ng'ombe pale unachukua labda miaka 5 kabla hujalipwa. Miaka 5 nyakati fulani labda kwa bahati mbaya unaaga unaondoka na hujalipwa. Lakini kwa sasa unapeleka ng'ombe wako pale masaa 72. Nani ambaye hangelipenda biashara kama hiyo? Hapo awali ilikuwa haikita ambacho hakiwezekani. Nadhani kuna watu ambao kwa kweli waliondoka na bila kulipwa. Lakini sasa kwa masaa 72 tu unapeleka mfugo wako pale unalipwa. Nadhani kwamba ni kitu ambacho tungejivunia kama Wakenya. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wamepelekwa pale sio kwamba si Wakenya, ni Wakenya tu, lakini kila Mkenya angependa kupata taasisi ambayo kwa kweli inampatia faida. Kwa hivyo kama rais kwa busara yake akaona ni kwamba apatie jeshi, basi na iwe tu. Pia ukiangazia mambo ya dunia nzima, utakuta kuna maeneo mengi zimekuwa na maendeleo. Iwe ni Egypt, iwe ni Israel, iwe ni hata Taiwan, wapi. Taasisi nyingi zinaongozwa na wale ambao tunasema kwamba wastaafu kutoka kwa jeshi. Hata unapoenda Ethiopia hapa. Ethiopia Airlines nafikiri ni kampuni ambayo ina sifa kubwa sana.
Shikilia hapo bwana Oguna, tutakaporudi tutasonga mbele. Umesema kwamba wastaafu, lakini hapa Kenya wale waliopewa bwana si wastaafu, ni watu ambao kwa mamlaka
moja kwamba sio wastaafu wote, sio wote ambao watakuwa ndani bado wanafanya kazi, ni wale ambao wamestaafu.
Shikilia hapo msikilizaji, mtazamaji, huyu ni Cyrus Oguna ambaye ni msemaji wa serikali, yuko ndani ya Zinga, na ni kipindi ambacho unakisikiza kupitia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya, na wakati huo unakitizama kupitia kipindi Good Morning Kenya kwenye runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1. Sisi ndio watangazaji wako. Jina langu naitwa Rashid Momkondo.
Mimi niite Mwajuma Ali, ukipenda niite Chozi la Almasi. Kumbuka kwamba tunafungua laini zetu za simu msikilizaji. Iwapo una swali lolote basi nambari ni 0700176699.
Tutakaporudi tutasonga mbele. Twende madukani.
Gumzo Pevu.
Keep abreast of the developments live from the National Assembly and the Senate.
On our members of Parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice for the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as one of people say aye?
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of Parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Of course not. If she responds, it won't be a sincere love. The only thing she'll show you is a facade to cover the emptiness in her heart that she's feeling right now.
Elena, why do you look at me like that?
He sent me away.
He did what? I don't believe this, Mom. How could he do that to you? You're the only one willing to look after him.
Believe this.
Are you sure he didn't see you?
Believe me, this was no accident. Someone tried to kill me.
Lying heart. Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición. Ngimate gaska watu tegu. Ngimate yatmugul dangu. Ngimate imanguge. Nyange begi putinai. Lale, give me give again. Lale, Kitot FM Gigosin. Lale, Kitot FM Gigosin. Kitot FM Gigosin. 98.0 Kitot FM Gigosin.
Ali Kiba kibao mvumo wa radi, na ndani ya studio mtazamaji ipo radi. Na radi ni nini? Ni kipindi ni Zinga, na studioni msikilizaji mtazamaji tuko naye msemaji wa serikali ndugu kanali mstaafu Cyrus Oguna, rafiki yangu sana huyu, na mimi nashukuru sana wakati wote ninapompigia simu yeye huichukua na akaniambia nini mwanangu, wataka nini. Asante sana mtazamaji. Kumbuka kipindi ni Good Morning Kenya kwenye KBC Channel 1 na vile pia ni Zinga kwenye KBC Radio Taifa sauti ya Kenya, tukizungumzia kuhusiana na miradi ya serikali na vile pia hali ya chakula nchini Kenya kutokana na kiangazi ama ukame. Mimi naitwa Rashid Momkondo.
Mimi niite Mwajuma Ali, ukipenda niite Chozi la Almasi. Msikilizaji unatupata vizuri vile kwenye mitandao yetu ya Twitter @MwajumaChozi, @Mwamkondo, @Radio Taifa, Good Morning Kenya. Hashtag ikiwa ni Zinga ama hashtag ikiwa ni Good Morning Kenya. Na kwa wale ambao wanatufuatilia kwa vizuri KBC Radio Taifa sauti ya Mkenya, utakuwa unatupata kwenye Facebook fan page ya kwetu.
Alright, kabla kusonga mbele labda tuchukue simu 2-3 hapa, naona simu zinawaka, tuwasikilize. Hoja tumezungumza na Oguna na msikilizaji hajazungumza naye, acha tumpe nafasi na yeye. 0700176699. Msikilizaji, kama una swali lolote kulingana na wale tunaojadili, njoo hewani na tafadhali kuwa mwepesi na mfupi, wapishe wenzako. Hello Radio Taifa Zinga.
Mwamkondo, Mwajuma
na huyu msemaji wa serikali. Huyu ni Matoka.
Karibu.
Nimemsikiza vizuri. Alafu niende kwa upande wa hospitali. Na bado serikali imefanya juhudi, imefungua hospitali nyingi. Lakini ukienda pale huwezi pata huduma. Kwa nini sasa wasiweke pale madaktari wenye wanasaidia wananchi? Hapo unapata unaenda hospitali huwezi pata huduma pale, na unaomba kwa Wakenya wengi sasa hivi wanatafuta huduma nje ya nchi.
Asante.
Wacha kwamba hospitali za Kenya gharama yake ni juu zaidi.
Okay, asante. Tumpe mwingine nafasi. Hello, good morning Kenya.
Rashid Mgondo.
Yes.
Habari ya asubuhi.
Mzuri sana.
Sasa mimi nataka kuuliza kanali. Hello.
Anakusikia, uliza tu.
Unaitwa nani kwanza?
Waitwa nani kutoka wapi?
Ninatoka Rongo.
Rongo, unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Joseph Wanyonyi.
All right.
Karibu. Sasa mimi naongea hivi kwa sababu saa hii uchumi unaenda na ukienda kwa duka unapata chakula imepanda sana. Sasa sijui kama ni serikali wanatusaidia namna gani tuweze kuona kama hiyo vyakula zinarudi chini. Kama mafuta ya lita 10 ukienda saa hii kwa duka ni shilingi 3,000. Sijui kama sisi wenye watu ya chini mtatusaidia namna gani kama serikali.
Asante, naona simu ni nyingi.
Kwa bei ya vyakula hiyo.
Hello Radio Taifa. Hello Radio Taifa. All right. Hello Radio Taifa. Hello Radio Taifa.
Hello Radio Taifa.
Tafadhali punguza sauti ya redio yako kwa mstaarabu kidogo.
Hello Radio Taifa.
Naam, zungumza nasi.
Naongea na Ben from Tana River. Nilikuwa nasema hivi ama kusema ya kwamba serikali yetu ikapate kuangalia wenye ambao wako chini, especially Tana River. Huku tunaumia sana, na ningemuomba rais kama ananisikiza, mwananchi wa Kenya tunalia sana, tukimpatia kura hatutembelei mpaka wakati wa kura. So naomba kama rais na ofisi yake kuu iweze kufika na ituangalie maslahi, kwa sababu hata huku kuna miradi tofauti yenye iko Garissa, hapo Bura, Hola, hapa Gamba, hiyo yote ifufuliwe na sisi wanadamu tutakuwa na ile mapato ya kupata kama vijana tutaajiriwa. Je, anatupangiaje huyo rais? Hata huyo mwenye ametakuwa pia na pia hiyo usajili wa polisi.
Asante. Bwana Oguna, hizi simu ni nyingi na tukizishika hivi wengine watatuambia pia Bwana Oguna una binti.
Ni sawa.
Labda tujibu yale ambayo ameuliza.
Yes. Nadhani kwa mnaongea Bwana Matoka ameongea kuhusu hospitali kutokuwa na huduma yani ambao wanafanya kazi. Kwa kweli serikali imefanya kila jitihada kuhakikisha kwamba huduma za afya tumeboresha kwa njia kwamba hata hospitali nyingi ambazo hapo awali zilikuwa haziwezi kupeana huduma ya aina fulani kwa sasa zinapeana. Unakuta kwamba zile ilikuwa level ya pili zimepandishwa cheo ziko kwa level ya 3. Kwa level ya 3, level ya 4, ya 5 hivyo tu. Kwa hivyo unakuta kwa sehemu nyingi sasa ukienda kwa hospitali yote utapata kwamba ina uwezo wa kuweza kupeana huduma ambazo hapo awali ilikuwa ni mtu asafiri kwenda. Hiyo ni kitu ambacho labda tunafaa kuelezwa ni hospitali ipi hivi kwamba hatuichukuliwe. Lakini kwa kweli serikali imeweka juhudi kubwa ya kuhakikisha kwamba hospitali zetu zote zinaweza kupeana huduma inavyopaswa. Nadhani pia vizuri kwa hawa wasikilizaji wapate kuelewa kwamba kuna ngazi fulani. Kuna ngazi ya pili ikianza ndio ngazi ya kwanza, ya pili, ya 3, ya 4 na hadi pamoja na ngazi ya 6, ambapo ukienda kwa ngazi ya pili basi kuna vitu ambazo huwezi pata pale. Ikiwa ni daktari hutampata pale kwa sababu daktari haizifaa akai kwa ngazi ya pili, anakaa kwa ngazi ya 3 kwenda juu. Naomba waelewe tu. Ngazi ya kwanza ni ile tunaita kwamba dispensary ile ya kijijini tu pale. Itakuwa ina uwezo tu kupeana huduma aina fulani, labda kupima malaria, ugonjwa ndogo tu. Lakini sasa kama ni ugonjwa hali ya juu, basi itabidi sasa ende kwa level nyingine. Nadhani naomba wasikilizaji wapate kuelewa na kuwa na huo fahamu kwamba kuna ngazi hizo. Bwana Wanyonyi ameongea kuhusu bei ya bidhaa. Kwa kweli ni kitu ambacho serikali inaangazia sana, kwamba maisha yanazidi kuwa juu kila uchao, na bei za bidhaa zinazidi kupanda kila siku. Ni kitu ambacho kama serikali hatupendi. Kuna taasisi ambazo zinaangalia jinsi ya kuweza kudhibiti hiyo, lakini pia ni vizuri wananchi wapate kuelewa kuna vitu ambavyo viko nje ya serikali. Kwa mfano, tunajua kwamba kwa sasa hivi kuna vita vikali sana viko katika maeneo za Europe kule, kati ya Russia na Ukraine. Na inaangazia imechangia mambo mengi sana, hasa bei ya mafuta pamoja na zile tunasema marigasi za kutoka sehemu hizo za kuweza kuja kusaidia hapa. Kwa hivyo utakuta kwamba kuna vitu ambavyo vinachangia lakini viko nje ya uwezo wa serikali. Kwa hivyo mwananchi anapoelewa hivyo itakuwa ni vizuri. Lakini pia tunasema hivi, kwa kipindi hiki tuweze tu ile tunasema kwamba kusacrifice. Manake ni kitu kigumu, lakini pia lazima tukubali kwamba kwa sasa hivi nyakati ambazo vita vinaendelea hatuna uwezo kusimamisha vita vile, lakini kwa sasa hivi serikali inaangalia njia zote za kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba Mkenya asipate uzito wa maisha, ila kwamba vita hivyo viko nje ya uwezo wetu kwa sasa.
Na ile swali lako, kuna bwana mmoja hapa anaitwa Ndata Baranza kwenye ukurasa wetu wa Facebook. Bwana Spokes anauliza, je, serikali ya Kenya imepata hasara gani kutokana na vita vya Ukraine na Urusi? Na je, tafadhali muulize msemaji wa serikali, vikosi vyetu vya kijeshi vitatoka lini Somalia?
Nadhani kwamba zile hatari tumepata nimeshataja kweli, kwa sababu kuna mali gasi tunatoa kule za kuweza kusaidia hata na nini ya kupikia. Hii tunasema gasi ya kupikia nyumbani zinatoka kule. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kwamba wananchi wapate kuelewa kwamba bei itazidi kupanda nyakati ambazo vita hivyo vinaendelea. Kwa hivyo na kile ambacho labda tungeomba ni kwamba vita hivyo viishe kwa haraka sana, ili kwamba vitu viweze kutulia vizuri. Kutoa wanajeshi Somalia ni kwa kweli kuna mpango wa Umoja wa Nchi Huru za Afrika kuweza kupunguza majeshi wale ambao wako kule Somalia. Lakini kumbuka kwamba tukiwa kule Somalia hatui pale kama Kenya, tunakuwa pale kama Umoja wa Nchi za Afrika. Kwa hivyo tutatoka tu kule nyakati ambazo Afrika itaamua kwa pamoja kwamba tutoe wanajeshi wote ambao wako pale. Ni vizuri wananchi waelewe kwamba tukiwa Somalia hatuwe pale kama jeshi la Kenya, tunakuwa pale kama jeshi la Afrika. Unaona, tunapoelewa hiyo tutakuwa ni vizuri sana, hivi kwamba hata wanapouliza swali wanauliza swali na uelewa huo.
Msikilizaji, dakika ni 43 baada ya saa 2 ndio unafungulia redio yako. Tuko na mheshimiwa hapa Cyrus Oguna, ambaye majukumu yake ni kusimamia jukumu la njia zote za mawasiliano ya serikali ya Kenya chini ya Wizara ya Habari, Mawasiliano na Teknolojia. Mheshimiwa Oguna, umekuwa miongoni mwa viongozi wenye sauti kubwa katika vita dhidi ya COVID-19. Imekuwa ghafla sana barakoa kufanywa, jambo ambalo sio la lazima. COVID imeisha.
Haijakuwa ghafla. Nadhani kwamba kwa ghafla si kweli. Nadhani kwamba kile ambacho tungefanya pia ni kama Wakenya tungejishangilia wenyewe. Kwa sababu unapoangazia juhudi zetu kama wa Kenya, tumekuwa ni watu ambao ni watifu sana kwa kuweza kutekeleza ilani hizo zote za serikali, kanuni hizo zote. Manake tunaposema kwamba watu wasije wakafungua sehemu za burudani kupitia zaidi ya masaa zilizowekwa, wanatii hivyo. Tunaposema kwamba makanisa watu wasizidi kiwango fulani, wanatii. Hata na mazishi, hata na harusi, watu kwa pakubwa tunasema watu metii sana. Na mambo hayo yote yamechangia kwa kuweza kupunguza msururu wa maambukizi. Ilikuwa si kwamba lazima corona iishe, ilikuwa ni kwamba kufika kiwango fulani, ikiwa ni 0.5 kwa wiki 2. Sisi tulikasema sio wiki 2 tu, itakuwa ni zaidi ya miezi 3. Kwa hivyo tumekuwa na maambukizi ikiwa imepungua hadi 0.5 kwa zaidi ya miezi 2 mtawalia. Umeelewa? Kwa hivyo ikawa ni lazima sasa tuweze kurekebisha kanuni zile. Kwa hivyo kwa sasa hivi barakoa ni baadhi ya zile kanuni zilizorekebishwa, kupunguzwa, kwamba utavaa barakoa ndio, lakini katika sehemu za umma ndio. Lakini sio kwamba corona imeisha, wala haijaisha kabisa. Ipo tu bado.
Safi, wacha tuendelee kuchukua simu na tumpatie msikilizaji nafasi na mtazamaji aweze kuzungumza na msemaji wa serikali. Hello Radio Taifa.
Halo.
Naam.
Amjambo.
Hatujambo.
Wewe ni Luka.
Kutoka wapi Lucas?
Kutoka Dandora.
Karibu.
Mimi namuuliza mheshimiwa, yeye alikuwa ile upande mwingine akaletwa huku ndani ya serikali. Sasa kwa zile big four agenda alipata ilipangwa, yeye ameazirika aje ama anachukuaje? Kwa sababu kuna zingine agenda zikaingia kama inaitwa BBI imeingia, imeaziriaje hizi big four agenda ya rais? Sasa na siku moja Rashi tafuta namna ulete ule waziri wa kilimo hapo, kuna matunda tutampatia na kule.
Hello Radio Taifa.
Hello Radio Taifa.
Naam.
Hello.
Tunakusikia, endelea ndugu. Unaitwa nani, kutoka wapi, swali lako? Unajua tatizo ni kwamba kafungulia redio yake inakuwa shida.
Sauti yako msikilizaji unapokuja hewani.
Radio Taifa, hello. Hello Radio Taifa.
Halo, Rashid, habari asubuhi na Juma.
Mzuri sana.
Mungu.
Ni Jairus, niko Safina.
Karibu.
Mimi nauliza tu mheshimiwa Uguna. Nimeshamfuatilia mara nyingi hapo kwa studio. Yeye huwa anaongelea tu mafanikio ya serikali kwamba imefikia wananchi. Kama vile mwenzangu amesema mambo ya huduma ya serikali ya hospitali. Kuna vitu mingi ambavyo siwezi kuhesabu, lakini sasa yeye sijawahi sikia akiongea the downfall of our government. Kwa sababu ndio tuko kwa ground tunalalamika, lakini yeye anatuambia mambo mazuri tu. Sijawahi sikia akisema mambo ile ambayo labda serikali haitatimiza.
Okay, asante. Tuchukue simu nyingine kabla kuendelea. Hello Radio Taifa. Hey.
Huyu mzee Mkenya. Nikiwa Mpeketoni Lamu.
Karibu.
Na ulisema hivi. Huyo mtumishi wa umma nimekusikia na ni mtu mzuri sana huyo. Lakini kaunti yetu ya Lamu ina shida za nini, za chakula kile walisema itawe na bilioni.
Oh, sawa. Okay, bwana Spokes, labda ujibu baadhi ya maswali kabla kusonga mbele.
Nadhani kwamba bwana Lucas anaangazia kuhusu agenda 4 kama zimeathirika na BBI. Lakini kweli tunaangalia hivi sasa ni kwamba unapoangazia agenda hizo 4 ni kwamba tunaongea habari ya chakula, nyumba zilizo ambazo ni bora lakini za bei nafuu. Alafu tukaangazia pia viwanda, alafu na huduma kwa wote. Tumeangazia kuhusu huduma tayari kwamba hospitali ziko nyingi ambazo hapo awali hazikuwepo. Hata tukiangalia hapa Nairobi peke yake, hasa katika mitaa za mabanda ambapo hapa mapema hazikuwa na hospitali ama huduma za afya karibu. Rais mwenyewe kwa busara yake tu akasema kwamba kutakuwa na hospitali zimejengwa pale. Na yeye mwenyewe amezindua. Ukienda kule Mkuru kwa Njenga, Mkuru kwa Ruben, kule maeneo za Kawangware hospitali zipo. Mathare hospitali zipo ambapo hapo awali hazikuwepo. Hiyo ni katika hii agenda 4 tukiangazia masuala ya afya. Tukiangazia masuala ya nyumba. Sasa hivi kuna kila mmoja ambaye anaweza kupata nyumba yake ambapo hapo awali hangaliweza kupata nyumba. Kwa kweli ni kwamba bei ya nyumba kwa sasa hivi ni kama bei ya gari ndogo. Hapo awali ilikuwa ni kwamba bei ya nyumba ilikuwa zimepanda juu ambapo hatungeweza, lakini kwa sasa tamu na bodaboda anaweza pata akawa na nyumba yake mwenyewe, mama ntilie, mama mboga anaweza pata akawa na nini, akawa na nyumba yake mwenyewe. Unaona? Kwa hivyo mazingira kupata nyumba imerahisishwa mno. Lakini pia tuna ujenzi wa nyumba. Kwa sasa hivi bei imeshuka sana kwa sababu ya serikali kuweka mazingira kama hayo. Hiyo ni katika agenda 4 ambazo zipo. Kama yeye Lucas ambaye kama hafahamu, aende hapa Park Road, aende Jevanji, atapata, aende pia na Pangani, nyumba zinatengenezwa kule. Kiambu juzi tulizindua, Lukenya zinaendelea. Nyumba zinajengwa. Agenda 4. Nadhani yote sina haja kutaja zote, lakini nitasema hiyo. Wengi wanasema kwamba Najia Uhuru Kenyatta anapoondoka, unaona, hatma ya agenda kuu itakuwa vipi? Hata na Uhuru akiondoka, tutahitaji chakula. Hata Uhuru akiondoka, tutahitaji kulala kwa nyumba fulani. Kila mtu awe na sehemu yake ya kulala. Tutahitaji mambo mengine ya kiafya. Kwa hivyo agenda kuu 4 hazilingani, hakuna sababu ya kuingiza kwenye muhula wa Uhuru Kenyatta. Maana atakapoondoka tutahitaji masuala haya yote tu. Huduma hizi tutahitaji. Umeelewa? Kwa hiyo serikali nayo kuja, nadhani kwamba wataendelea tu na huduma hizo na miradi hiyo ili kwamba maisha ya Kenya ipate kuimarika zaidi. Jairus ameuliza kuhusu kwamba anaongea tu kuhusu masuala mazuri ya serikali wala
hujawahi kutaja hata jambo baya, hata miradi ambayo haijatimizwa husemi.
Kuna ufisadi mfanyika bwana Oguna husemi.
Niseme hivi, ufisadi unapofanyika, tumeongea kuhusu Arona kwa Marere. Kuna taasisi ambazo juhudi kazi zao ni kuweza kufanya uchunguzi. Wafanye kazi yao. Umenielewa? Iwapo mtu amepatikana na hatia, basi kuna mahakama pia watafanya kazi yao. Kwa kweli, serikali ni chombo ambacho kina kila kitu. Chombo ambacho kina kila kitu ya kuweza kufanya uchunguzi, lakini pia mambo ya mahakama. Polisi wapo, kila mmoja afanye kazi yake. Na ndio serikali. Nadhani kwamba wengine tunaangalia serikali kama ni chombo ambacho kiko mbali pale. Hapana, ni chombo kiko ndani. Sisi wote tuko ndani ya kile chombo. Unaelewa? Kwa hivyo tukifahamu hivyo tutakuwa ni vizuri sana. Serikali ni yetu. Sio mtu mwingine. Tunaposema kwamba serikali imefanya hivi vibaya, ni sisi wenyewe. Maana unaposema kwamba serikali ni kama kitu ambacho hatumo ndani, tunatoka tumekosea. Kwa sasa hivi tunaelekea kwenye kipindi cha uchaguzi. Inamaanisha nini? Tunachagua serikali tunayoipenda yetu. Umenielewa? Kwa hivyo nadhani kwamba kile ambacho huwa naangazia kweli ni mambo ambazo zinasaidia mwananchi wa kawaida kujua kwamba huduma imeletwa karibu na yeye. Ndio. Maana ndio hasa kazi ya serikali, kupeleka huduma karibu na nini? Na wananchi. Ndio.
Bwana Oguna, kuna swali moja hapa ni la kizushi, lakini ameogopa kusema, kaniambia nimsemee baadaye. Anaitwa Eunice Githongoro wa Londiani.
Mbona siongee tu mwenyewe?
Amenituma mimi, anasema yeye anakuogopa. Anasema kwamba anapenda sana ufasaha wako wa lugha ya Kiswahili. Je, una nambari ya simu ambayo si ya ofisi?
Sasa ni kwako wewe.
Na hata tukizungumzia ufasaha wako wa lugha, uliujulia wapi? Yani nimekaa nimekusikiliza, lakini yani unavyotiririka sio mchezo.
Hapana, sisi nadhani tuseme hivi bwana Rashidi na dada Majuma, ni kwamba sisi wote katika kanda hii ya Afrika Mashariki lugha yetu ni moja, na ni lugha ya Kiswahili. Sote nadhani kwamba ni lugha imetunganisha sote. Unapoenda kule Uganda lugha ni hiyo hiyo, unapoenda Rwanda lugha hiyo hiyo, Burundi lugha hiyo, Tanzania lugha hiyo, labda South Sudan kidogo bado, lakini utakuja kuingia tu pale. Nadhani kwamba sisi sote kwa pamoja tuweze kudumisha lugha hiyo na tuweze kuangazia sana.
Kuna wasiwasi ambao unahubika, wengi wanauliza, je, transition ya Mheshimiwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta akiondoka kumpokeza atakayekuwa itakuwa vipi? Wengi wana wasiwasi, kutakuwa hivi, kutakuwa vile.
Haitakuwa mara ya kwanza ya kupishana kijiti hicho. Haitakuwa mara ya kwanza. Nakumbuka mwaka 2002 ilikuwepo. 2013 ilikuwepo. Kipindi hiki itakuwepo. Maana sio mara ya kwanza, na vipindi hivyo vote kuja kwa nafuja yote. Kwa hivyo nadhani kwamba kila ambacho ningeelezea wananchi ni kwamba wawe na amani na imani kwamba kila kitu kitakuwa sawa. Na mambo yatakuwa sawa bila shaka.
Labda nikiongezea tu, kuna mmoja hapa alikuwa ameuliza kuhusu huduma ambazo ni kwa ajili yetu. Miradi unaambiwa kwamba ni kwa ajili yetu, na huduma hizi za serikali ni kwa ajili yetu, lakini pia wanasema kwamba hawafikii bei. Kama kwa mfano SGR ilikuwa katika bei ilipanda, ikaja ikapanda ikawa juu tena, ikawa sasa uchukuzi yule ambaye yuko chini hawezi tena kufikia hapa. Kuna wengine wanasema kwamba watakuja kulipishwa hii expressway ambayo inatengenezwa, ni kwamba ukiwa unapita pale utaweza kulipa. Sasa inakuwaje masuala kama hayo?
Swali nzuri kwa kweli. Nadhani kwamba niseme hivi, ni kwamba SGR ni kifaa ambacho ni chombo kiko hapa kwa nchi yetu kwa sasa, tunakitumia. Hapo awali haikuwepo, lakini ipo. Tukiangazia kitu kimoja itatufanya tusiweze kuwa na uwezo kuwa na kitu kingine kizuri. Umenielewa? Kwa kipindi kirefu tumeangazia masuala haya, masuala ambayo yanaletwa na hawa tunasema activist kwa kila wakati. Unaona? Lakini pia activist lazima apate chakula atajua meza, lazima atafute kitu ambacho kitafanya kwamba na wale ambao ni wafadhili wake wampatie hela. Kwa hivyo tuelewe mambo kama hayo. Umenielewa? SGR ni kifaa ambacho kinasaidia wananchi wa Kenya kwa sasa hivi. Tukiangazia miradi ambazo zimekuepo kando SGR kutoka Mombasa hadi Nairobi ambazo hapo awali hazikuwepo. Tuweze tufanye katika tugeuze iwe katika ni hela ngapi iko sasa ambao hapo awali haikuwepo. Ile faida imeletwa kwa wananchi ni kubwa mno kwa hiyo SGR. Kwa hivyo kile ambacho naomba ni kwamba tuelewe pia kuna wanaharakati ambao wako pale, tusiwasikilize sana, maana yake mradi ni wetu, inapenda huduma kwa wananchi wetu. Umeongea kuhusu expressway. Kwa kweli expressway ni ndio mfumo wa sasa. Nadhani kwamba watu wengi hawajaelewa. Ile tunaita PPP. PPP inamaanisha kwamba ni uhusiano baina ya serikali na wawekezaji binafsi. inaitwa private the public partnership. Nchi nyingi ndio mfumo kwa sasa. Kwa sababu gani? Ile pesa iliyotumika pale sio ya serikali, ni ya mtu binafsi. Kwa hivyo yeye pia ni kama mfanya biashara, na kwa hivyo lazima apate faida, pesa yake irudi. SGR itakuwa ni kwa miaka 25 hapo tukilipa, kisha baada ya hapo itakuwa ni kwamba itakuwa ni mradi wa serikali, itakurudi kwetu sisi. Manake wewe ukifungua biashara yako lazima upate na nini, pesa yako ya kuwekeza pale irudi. Ni kama hii tu. Kwa hivyo naomba wananchi wapate kuelewa kwamba mfumo wa sasa ni ya ushirikiano baina ya serikali na wawekezaji wa kibinafsi. Kwa sasa hivi ile kwamba ile pesa ya serikali itumike kwa masuala mengine kama ya afya, masuala ya elimu, masuala ya maji, kusambaza nguvu ya umeme. Kwa sasa hivi nchi ama dunia nzima. Ndio.
Dakika ni 55 msikilizaji, baada ya saa 2. Mimi nina swali la moja la mwisho tu nikimalizia. Sijui mwenzangu na mangapi.
Kwa sekunde tu. Ukumaliza swali lako.
Wakenya lazima tuongelee ushuru. Utawahi kushuka? Tunadaiwa.
Kwa kweli nia serikali ni kwamba kila kitu iweze kuwa katika ngazi ya kuweza kupatia maisha Mkenya iwe rahisi. Kwa kila serikali yote na yetu pia zaidi. Lakini pia ukiangazia vitu ambavyo tunafanya kama serikali ni vingi mno za kuweza kufanya maisha Mkenya iwe rahisi mno, iweze kuweka mazingira ya kuweza kufanya Mkenya aweze kuchapa kazi na apate riziki ya kila siku. Ukiangalia kwa nchi hii, kwa kweli nadhani kwa kanda nzima Afrika Mashariki tuko juu sana. Tuko juu sana. Sio masuala ya shule, sio barabara peke yake, sio afya peke yake. Kuna watu wengi wanakuja hapa kutafuta huduma za afya. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu tuko juu tu katika ngazi hiyo ya mambo ya afya, hata na shule. Kwa hivyo mambo haya yote ni kutokana na ushuru wetu ya wananchi. Kwa hivyo lazima watu wapate kuelewa kwamba tunapopata hizo pesa za kutoka kwa wananchi zinawekezwa ili kwamba wananchi waweze kufaidika kwa huduma ambazo serikali inapeana.
Bila shaka mtazamaji na msikilizaji, hatuna la ziada, labda tu kwa dakika moja nimpishe mgeni wetu ambaye tunamshukuru sana kwa kuacha shughuli zake nyingi na kuja kuzungumza na wasikilizaji na Wakenya kwa ujumla. Labda msemaji wa serikali ndugu Kanali Sera Soguna, kabla kutoka hapa ndani ya studio, una wito gani kwa Wakenya wakati huu tunapoelekea kwenye uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2022?
Mimi nadhani kwamba nyota ndogo alikuwa amesema amani, amani, amani itane na itawale. Kwa sababu miradi hii tumetaja yote ni kwamba inahitaji amani iwepo, ili kwamba sio kuzilinda tu, lakini pia tuweze kupata maendeleo zaidi. Bila amani maendeleo haitaweza kupatikana. Kwa hivyo kila mwananchi awe na ule utu wa kuweza kuleta amani tunapoelekea kwenye kipindi cha uchaguzi, kwamba amani itawale siku zote na endelea kutawala zaidi tunapoendelea katika miaka mingine, hata baada ya uchaguzi. Sio wakati kipindi cha uchaguzi tu peke yake, lakini hata baada ya uchaguzi tuwe na amani kila wakati.
Unaambiwa siku zote uungwana ni kitendo. Tumeshukuru sana kwa kufika, kwa uwepo wako, kwa kutujibu maswali yetu. Mwenyezi Mungu akuzidishie.
Asante sana.
Mtazamaji basi na msikilizaji, hatuna la ziada. Wanasema siku zote kila kilicho na upesi hakina budi kuwa na uharaka, sio? Upesi tumemaliza, sasa ni uharaka msikilizaji. Then kwamba kufikia hapa, ikiwa ni dakika 2 zimesalia tuweze kumpisha Jona Ngare aweze kutusomea taarifa ya habari. Ningependa tu kuchukua fursa hii mtazamaji na msikilizaji kwa kuchagua runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1 ndani ya kipindi cha Good Morning Kenya. Asante sana mkuu wa vipindi katika runinga ya KBC Channel 1 Bwana Michael Ndetei kwa fursa hii. Vile vile pia asanteni sana wapiga picha wetu wote ambao mko hapa ndani, mafundi wa mitambo, bila kuwasahau waelekezi wetu wawili Ben Kamuti na vile vile pia Matonjeru, na msikilizaji bila kuwasahau watangazaji wenzangu ambao wako kwenye kipindi cha Good Morning Kenya. Asante sana kwa muda wenu, na leo ni siku ya Jumanne na kipindi cha Good Morning Kenya mtazamaji huwa Jumanne wanazungumzia masuala ya afya, na leo wanazungumzia kuhusiana na kifua kikuu, yani tuberculosis. Sisi tunamaliza upande wetu. Asante sana kwa mara nyingine tena ndugu Oguna. Mimi nimekuwa mtangazaji wako, jina langu naitwa Rashid Mwamkondo na mwenzangu mrembo hapa aitwa nani?
Niite Mwajuma Ali Chozi la Almasi.
Hadi wakati mwingine tena tunasema shukran sana. Endelea kusikiliza Radio Taifa sauti ya Mkenya na endelea kutizama runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1 kipindi Good Morning Kenya. Kwa herini.
an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
What are you doing here? I'm wondering if you're too thick-skinned, or if it's true that you have no shame at all. I will not forgive you. I will destroy everything you have by hand.
Huh? Hey! Are you crazy? Your family would collapse if they knew about this.
What the hell is going on here?
National Assembly and the Senate.
Honourable members of Parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice of the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as want opinion say aye?
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of Parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us this far from that beautiful discussion with the government spokesman there concerning food security and the projects that the government is undertaking. We now bring you back to studio and continue with our health segment, and rightly mentioned by Momkondo right there. Today we're going to be talking about TB, tuberculosis, to just help you understand the basics, know where we are as a country and how you can be your first line of defense. And as always, we welcome you to be part of this conversation. Talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Our individual handles ever remain to be at Dorina Ranke, at Victor Olo, at Regina Minara, at Ben Troinjue, and at Jane Womboy. To help us with this conversation in studio, we have with us Evelyn Kibuchi, who is the Chief National Coordinator at Stop TB Partnership Kenya. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you.
Are you available on the social media platforms?
Yes.
How can our viewers be able to interact with you?
On Facebook, I'm Evelyn Kibuchi, and Twitter is ekibuchi.
Ekibuchi.
Yes.
All right. So questions that you feel you cannot share with us on this national platform, feel free to send them to her. I believe she will be able to address them as and when that will be possible. So TB, tuberculosis. We all have our own ways that we pronounce this, but let's start with the basics. When you talk about TB, we all know it's a disease, but what really is TB?
Thank you very much. Like you rightly said, tuberculosis is a disease. It's a disease that is passed from one person to the other through air. So we say it's airborne. And TB, the basics of TB, it's airborne. It is passed from one person to the other when an infected person is close to somebody who is uninfected, and the infected person breathes out the TB bacteria, and it can come out either through talking, when you're singing, or you laugh, and the bacteria in you comes out, and then an infected person breathes in that bacteria. That's how it gets transmitted.
Airborne.
Airborne.
Do droplets come into play in this conversation? Saliva droplets and the likes?
The TB is airborne, so it means that the medium that carries the bacteria is air. Yes.
So droplets not per se?
Not per se.
All right.
It's air.
All right. So what causes TB?
TB is a bacterial disease. Therefore, what causes it is that bacteria. When that bacteria gets into the lung of an uninfected person, that's how it gets one gets infected.
Okay. Now, when you talk about TB in the Kenyan space, maybe you could just paint a picture for us from the information you have gathered working with No TB, Stop TB Partnership KE. How are we faring as a country?
Let me first start by saying March, we call it the lung month. That is when we commemorate, or we mark, or we remember the TB. And we commemorate the World TB Day on 24th of March. That is just this Thursday.
Yes.
As a country, I would say we are not doing very well. And I'll start with, where are we at the global level? At the global level, we have 80 countries that contribute the highest burden of TB worldwide.
Yes.
And Kenya is among those, sorry, I said 80 countries, I meant 30 countries that contribute 80% of the global TB burden, and Kenya is among those countries. That's globally. Let's come to Africa. Africa, we are ranked number 4. South Africa comes first, Nigeria comes second, Ethiopia comes third, and Kenya comes fourth. That simply says we are not doing very well as a country, as far as TB is concerned.
Oh, wow. And how recent are these figures?
These figures are as recent as 2020. I'm referring to the data of 2020 according to World Health Organization statistics.
Okay. Now, given there's such high prevalence rates in our country, and one would think we would know, like, when TB is spreading, but what are some of those signs and symptoms that maybe are presenting themselves in individuals, but we tend to look past them?
Let me first talk about the symptoms of the common TB that we know, the TB that affects the lung. What are the common symptoms? The very common symptom that we know is a cough. And it's any cough, not a cough for 2 weeks, not a cough for 3 months, any cough could be a sign of TB. Loss of weight. And by loss of weight, we mean you lose so much weight in a very short period. Lack of appetite, and sweating a lot at night, especially at night.
When you say sweating in this current weather that we are experiencing.
Yeah, the difference is that with this sweat, it's a lot of sweating, and it's more at night. So that you wake up in the morning and you're looking at the sheet and it looks like, it has been soaked in water. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I also understand there are 2 major categories of TB. We talk about latent TB and active TB. Help us understand the difference.
Yeah. Before we go to the latent and active TB, I want to say that you do not have to wait for all those symptoms that I've talked about to appear. In some people, they could only get one symptom. For example, you could find somebody who only had a cough, but the other symptoms were not as prominent. So somebody could actually ignore because they'll say, I only had a cough. Other people will only present with night sweats, right? The other symptoms may be there, but they are not so pronounced. So they'll just be saying, the symptoms have many, but I'm just feeling a night sweat.
Nakohoa sana. Ama na sweat tu sana.
Exactly. So any of those symptoms that I've mentioned could be TB.
Okay.
So, latent TB and active TB. At any point in your lifetime, you must have come into contact with somebody who had TB, right? Maybe you visited someone in hospital who had TB, or you had just gone to see somebody in hospital, but in the vicinity, there was somebody who had TB, or you traveled in a matatu, and there was somebody who was in that matatu and had TB, and they coughed or they talked. The bacteria came out from their mouth, and it lingered in that matatu. So at some point, you may have breathed in, but you've never suffered from TB. right? So that bacteria that you breathed in and is sitting in your system or in your body, we say you have latent TB. The bacteria is in your system, but you're not sick.
So in a sense, it's in an inactive state?
It's in an inactive state.
But it is in your body?
But it's in your body.
Okay.
And that we say a majority of us have that bacteria that is sitting in our body, right? Because like I said, at some point we have been in contact with somebody who has TB.
Yeah.
So when does it become active TB? So we have that bacteria that is sitting in you, okay? So they are the factors that make that inactive TB or that latent TB become active. And it's anything that makes the immunity of your body go low. Yeah? So it could be anything like low immunity caused by poor nutrition, or any other disease like HIV. You get HIV, we of course know that HIV brings down your immunity,
yes.
Or you have any other condition like diabetes, it also brings down your immunity, and now it gives an opportunity of that inactive bacteria in you to become active, and now you start getting the symptoms, right? Yeah, so it's when your immunity gets compromised that the inactive TB in you becomes active, and now you start showing symptoms of TB. And now we say now you have active TB disease.
But you can go through your life with the latent TB and it never be triggered.
Yes.
As long as the constants remain constant, and especially where your immunity is involved.
You're right. You could have this latent TB for the rest of your life, and you may never get sick. You may never even know that you have this TB bacteria, simply because your immunity has been strong.
And is this latent TB also transmittable?
No. This latent TB is not transmittable.
Okay.
That's a good thing about it.
Only when it's in its active state, that's when it can be transmitted to other individuals.
Only when it's inactive state, when you're now coughing, when that bacteria has multiplied in your body, that when you cough, then you release that bacteria.
So let's say you are a carrier of this latent TB, and then you happen to come into contact with somebody who has active TB. That also triggers your TB to flare up and now shift to the active state?
Exactly. You could be having that latent TB, but when you come into contact now with somebody now who has that active TB and you breathe in that bacteria, then you get infected with that disease, with the TB disease.
How is TB diagnosed?
Yeah, TB is diagnosed through 2 ways. Once you visit a facility and you give the symptoms, a doctor or the clinician can be able to conclude that you have TB just by listening to the symptoms, right? And the other way, which is more reliable, is getting the sample from your body, and it's taken to the laboratory, and it's checked, and then the doctor will say, or the lab person will say, you have TB.
Which sample? Blood samples?
Sputum test. We test TB through the sputum. Let me use Kiswahili, kikohozi.
Yes.
That kikohozi is what is taken to the lab, and they check if there is TB bacteria in that sputum.
All right. Now, TB, is it curable? Let's just first get that out of the way.
Yes. Thank you. Let's get this out of there,
Yes.
because there's a lot of fear that, oh, when I get TB, I'm going to die. Let me give some hope. TB is completely curable, but it's on this condition, that you seek treatment early when the bacteria has not damaged your system so much, right? I repeat that it's curable so long as we seek treatment early. If you go when the TB bacteria has damaged your body, then chances of you recovering are little. That's why we say the moment you feel the onset of any of the symptoms, do not wait for a single day.
All right. Now, let's talk a bit about the treatment options that are available in our country when it comes to TB. And I'd like for us to start with the vaccine. BCG. For most of us, I think the last time you talked about BCG was probably in high school biology, and we can't even remember that BCG is part of the preventative efforts when it comes to TB. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, when you talk about BCG, then we're talking about prevention, and then we shall go to treatment.
Yes.
Yeah, I want you to look at your left arm, right? You should see a mark.
Next to the elbow.
Exactly.
Yes.
You should be able to see a mark. And all of us in Kenya have that mark, unless you're never taken for the BCG. And BCG is the first injection that we are given after birth. And BCG is a vaccine that prevents us from getting infected with TB. But let me make this clear: it only prevents from the more severe forms of TB, right? Not all TB. And even then, it does not prevent us for a lifetime.
Okay.
In most cases, it only prevents us up to the age of around 14. After that, it ceases to be
as effective.
As effective.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, what is the significance of this BCG being given at birth? Because that is a time where exposure is could be high or minimal depending on the environment. But is there a particular reason as to why it is given at birth?
The reason it's given at birth is because we should be protected from TB at birth, and we are more vulnerable to tuberculosis when you're young, because remember, a newborn child has very low immunity. Therefore, you want this child protected from that time when she's more or he's more vulnerable. That's why it's given at birth.
All right. And considering there hasn't been, let's consider a situation where this particular child hasn't been exposed to TB and they have gotten this particular vaccine. Can this vaccine be given at any other time in life?
It can be given at any other point when the child is still a child, because when she has grown up, then the vaccine is not going to be effective. That's why the healthcare workers will emphasize that it's given at birth.
Before exposure to TB.
Before exposure to TB.
All right. Now, yes, so you can go ahead and just, for those who are always wondering about this mark, always asking, but there are those who this scar never really stays. And does that mean that they need to get a second vaccine, or what does it mean? Because not everyone has that scar.
Yeah, when the child is given the vaccine, the doctor or the clinician who administers the vaccine will tell you, if it does not cause the scar, come back. Exactly. That means if you'll only not have the mark if you're not taken for a second jab. If the first time it never showed the mark, because the scar shows that your body has detected that there's something that has been put in your body and it's reacting. So when it does not give the scar, it's showing that the vaccine is not active. That's why you need to be given another one immediately. Then now the healthcare worker realizes that there's no
the scarring did not take place. Exactly. All right, so that's the first line of defense, you know, at birth, whenever TB is involved.
Now let's come to prevention.
Yes, the first preventative measure. Now you are a bit exposed, you know, knowingly or unknowingly. What are the treatment options that are available, and especially in the Kenyan space?
Yeah, TB treatment is the same all over the world, as in that the chemical composition of TB drugs is standard.
Okay.
Whether you're in Cambodia, in Kenya, in Uganda, it is the same. And TB treatment is given for a period of 6 months, and the amount of drugs, right, the number of pills depends on the body weight. So once you go for the medication, the healthcare worker will take your weight, and that is what will determine how many pills that you're going to be given. The more the weight, the more the number of pills, right? But the treatment is standard.
It's standard.
It's standard.
Now, I was going through an article, and there's a point where it talked about surgery in some cases, and I don't know how truthful that is. Is there any at any point where surgery comes into play whenever TB is involved?
For me to respond to that, I will have to talk about the different types of TB we have. We have 2 types of TB. We have the pulmonary TB. In simple terms, is a TB that affects the lungs. And we have TB that affects any other part of the body, apart from the 3 parts: the hair, the teeth, and the nails. Okay. So when TB happens outside the lung, what we call extrapulmonary TB, then depending on where it is, then the doctor may determine whether surgery may be required. Exactly.
All right. That's why we hear TB of
the spine, for example.
Yeah. Now those are the cases that surgery could become a treatment option depending on the extent.
Exactly.
All right. But we're also living in a time where people are developing resistance. You know, antimicrobial resistance is a whole pandemic in its own, and we also have TB resistance. In the Kenyan space, is this a big challenge?
Oh, yes. Drug-resistant TB, let me first say it's a challenge worldwide.
Yes.
And in Kenya, it's a very serious challenge. And how does it come about?
Tell us.
We all know it's very difficult to finish a dose of medication anytime we are given.
Swallowing pills.
Exactly. And because maybe you're given you to take for 7 days, but on the 4th day you're feeling better, right?
Yes.
Or sometimes you feel like you don't feel nice, you don't feel good when you take the pills, and so after 3-4 days you stop. Okay.
Oh, you just forget.
Oh, you just forget. But in most cases we just feel, I'm feeling okay, I don't have to continue with the pills.
Yes.
So what happens is that your body, now that you have given your body a dose of this medication, but it has not destroyed the bacteria, right? So the bacteria becomes resistant to the drug that you have given it, because you did not destroy it, but you have given it a bit of a dose of the medicine.
But it wasn't in the quantities that is needed
to destroy it completely.
The bacteria.
Exactly. Right. So the same thing happens in TB. You're given the medication, but for one reason or the other, you do not complete the dose, the 6 months dose, or you're not consistent with the medication. Maybe you're told to take so many pills every morning, but you skip the doses. So what you've done to the bacteria is that you've given it a bit of dose, but you've not destroyed completely. So it becomes resistant to that drug. What that means is that even if you continue giving it the same drug, it is not going to get cleared. And you have to be given a more strong set of antibiotics now to destroy it completely or to kill it completely. That's when we say you have become drug resistant. Right?
Wow.
So drug resistance happens when, one, we do not complete our dose, or we do not take the medication according to the doctor's instructions.
Okay.
And I would want to emphasize here that when you're on TB treatment, you must complete the dose and you must follow the instructions from the doctor or the healthcare worker. And in the event that you forgot, or you traveled and you forgot to carry your medication, when you go to the healthcare worker, remember to tell them, be very honest, because this could save you from getting drug resistant.
Okay.
Always be very honest. Say, on this date, I did not take my medication. And every time you remember that you have skipped a dose, contact your healthcare worker and tell them that you have skipped a dose. But let's ensure that we complete and we follow the doctor's instructions. Let me talk about the drug-resistant TB, or what you call the DRTB. First of all, it takes a long time to treat it. Any period between 18 months to 24 months. That's about 2 years.
Yeah.
And you have to take drugs, quite a number of pills every day for those 2 years. Initially, the treatment used to be administered through injections. And these injections took 6 months. But right now, at least with advancement in research, we have drugs that is administered through pills. So we have done away with injections, which is a good thing. But again, it's very expensive on you as a patient and also as a country, because the government will have to cater for the treatment for you, and it's very expensive. Right now, it takes between 1.5 and 1.8 million to treat 1 case of drug-resistant TB. It's also very involving, because the healthcare worker has to observe that you have taken the pills. So that healthcare worker either comes to your home or you go to the healthcare worker, so that he makes sure that you have swallowed the drug. Because in the first place, remember how you got the drug resistant. So we want to make sure that you do not fall into the same problem again, and so that we do not create more drug resistance. That's why, because of that involvement of treatment, the patients who get drug resistant are given an allowance to facilitate them to go to the healthcare worker, or for the healthcare worker to come for treatment. And there is another level, which is XDR TB. When now the drug-resistant TB becomes resistant to that treatment, then it advances to another level called the extensively drug-resistant TB, which takes longer and is also more expensive.
And the symptoms keep manifesting as long as
exactly
resisting these drugs. Now, there's an article that I came across here that was looking at the global figures when it comes to TB. Here we go. This is from the World Health Organization. Just back in 2020, again the same year, they estimated some 10 million people fell ill with tuberculosis, 5.6 million being men, 3.3 million being women, and 1.1 being children. Given this high number of men against women, almost double, is there a relation to gender when it comes to exposure to TB, or the level? It's a level playing field.
Yes, no. There are gender issues when it comes to TB infections. Like you have rightly said, globally, according to the 2022 statistics, 56% of those who were infected with TB were men, 33% were women, and 11% were children. In Kenya, a survey was conducted in 2016, and the results were the same, that out of every two people, out of one woman with TB, there were two men against. That means that men are more vulnerable to TB than women. And that makes us have a more focus, that makes us have a focus more on men. And why are men more vulnerable? Though no research has been done to concretely say these are the reasons, we can only speculate. And one issue with men, if you look at the way of life, how they work, the situations in which they work, they place them to be more vulnerable. For example, you go to factories. Even now, if you go to a matatu, you like to get more men than women. Yeah. You go to football, you go to the drinking places, there are more men than women. So if one man is infected among them, then there are chances that more are going to be infected. Okay. Secondly, this is common among men. They don't like going to hospital, right? So they get the symptoms and they go over the counter and they buy painkillers and they, self-medication. Exactly. Some may hear you take a shot of vodka and the cough is going to clear. But, so that delay, that not seeking healthcare among men places men in a more vulnerable position for getting infected with TB. And so I would want to address men for today and tell them, you understand now that you're more vulnerable to TB. And if TB is not cured, it kills. So for men, any moment you get any of the symptoms that I mentioned, do not wait, do not self-medicate, do not borrow medication from your friend. Simply go to a healthcare worker, go to a facility, get treated. Because once you get treated, you also protect your loved ones, you protect your family. But so long as you're not treated, you're also exposing your loved ones to tuberculosis.
All right, Victor, Mali ambapo ulipo, I hope you have heard that clarion call. Men, women have a higher sense of self-preservation than men. So ukisikia unakohoa kidogo, kimbia hospitali. Umesikia Victor? Nakimbia wapi? Spitali. All right, now let's talk a bit about the relationship that TB has in line with some other medical conditions that have been noted to sort of have a relationship. And I want us to start with where we are as a population, globally speaking. COVID-19, the pandemic, it also affects the respiratory system. Is there a relationship between these two that could make TB worse?
Yeah, there's a relationship, and of course there are differences. I'll start with the differences. That TB is caused by a bacteria. COVID is caused by a virus. Huge difference.
Viral bacteria.
Exactly. But what are the similarities? Sorry, both diseases affect the lung. Both diseases have sort of a common symptom. The cough, the general weakness, the pain in the lung. So in quite a number of cases, TB has been mistaken for COVID, and COVID has been mistaken for TB. And the effect that COVID had on TB response globally is that it really affected TB response, and we have been thrown back to where we were 10 years ago in TB response. Why so? When COVID came, most of the resources, the health workforce, the facilities, they were 360 degrees redirected to COVID. Again, there was a lot of stigma. Remember, in Kenya, when COVID came, if you coughed, ambulance, you're taken to an isolation, which you had to pay for yourself. And of course, people were afraid that if I have COVID, I'm definitely going to die. So people had a lot of self-stigma, right? And they also stigma around. Yes. So even if I had a cough, I was not going to tell anybody that I have a cough, because they say, hey, you have COVID, okay? And they're also afraid of going to hospital, because in case it's COVID, of course, there were repercussions.
Yes.
So many people did not go to hospital.
And this caused us to regress as a country.
Exactly. This caused us to go back to where we were 10 years ago. And we are trying to recover slowly, and by encouraging what we are calling bidirectional screening. That means when I go for COVID screening, then I'm also tested for TB. And when I go for TB, I'm also screened for COVID. Okay. And that is it's a cost-effective way of addressing the two pandemics.
To avoid going down the wrong path, especially when it comes to the treatment.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Now, and also the fact that because of the similarities in the symptoms, so when I'm presenting for COVID, it could be TB, right? And when I'm presenting for TB, it could be COVID. Yeah. So the only sure way is that let me be tested for both. And I would make this a clarion call, that when you have any of those symptoms, be screened and tested for both diseases.
For both of them. Again, that's why we like to understand this relationship between these two. Now the other one is the relationship between HIV and TB. We have known for the longest time that TB is one of the opportunistic diseases that really affects the population that have the virus. Why is it one of the biggest challenges when it comes to this particular part of the population?
Okay, first of all, I would want to dispel the rumor that anybody who has TB has HIV.
Yes.
And I want to send this record straight with statistics. Only about 25% of people with TB have HIV.
Yes.
Only 25%. What does that tell us? That about 75% of people with TB do not have HIV.
Yes.
That should come as a consolation. So when you see somebody coughing, or when somebody tells you they have TB, let us not automatically conclude that they are HIV positive. They are not. And there's a whole huge difference. And I'll talk about again the difference and the similarities.
Yes.
HIV is a virus. Again, TB is a bacteria, is a bacterial infection. Huge difference. But what are the converging points between the two? It's simply because HIV is known to bring our immunity down. And so TB takes advantage of that lowered immunity. That is the only relationship. That means if you have HIV and you get TB, then the symptoms of HIV are likely to be visible more.
Okay.
Right? And if you have TB and you get HIV, then the HIV in you will accelerate the progress of TB in you. Right? Yeah.
All right. Now, diabetes as well. That is one of the areas that actually you pointed out. What is the relationship between TB and diabetes?
Again, it boils down to the immunity, right? It has been discovered that most people with diabetes, I do not call them patients because TB is just a condition. I mean, diabetes is just a condition. People with diabetes have been discovered to be getting TB. That means diabetes has also been known to bring about conditions that make TB to thrive more.
Okay.
Right? And now we're also calling for the same, let me use the word bidirectional, for lack of a better term, but that means that once you're going for diabetes checkup, that you should always be checked for TB. And also when you go for TB, you should also be tested for diabetes, because you have found that there's that correlation. But again, simply because diabetes will make TB thrive better.
It's sort of a gateway.
Exactly.
All right. Now, I want us to address some of the misconceptions that are going around when it comes to TB. And I'll start with one that you mentioned, that TB is inheritable. It's hereditary.
Yes, that's one of the biggest misconception and a myth.
Yeah.
And why do people think so? It's because you may find more than one person in the family having TB. And how did it come about? It's simply because they're living in the same environment.
Exposure.
Exactly. And one person exposed their entire family. And so when people see more than one person in a family with TB, then they conclude, wanasema, he ina run kwa familia, that it runs the family. TB is not hereditary. It is not genetic. It's simply airborne.
All right. Now, there's also a huge chunk that believes TB is a direct death sentence. I mean, we had campaigns going around say TB na TB, but for most people still believe that TB is a death sentence.
TB is not a death sentence completely. TB is curable. And statistics show us, like in Kenya, the treatment success rate for TB is about 89%. That means 89% of the people who get TB will get cured. And the only reason why TB may not be cured is when we delay seeking treatment, or when you do not adhere to treatment.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we seek treatment early, we adhere to a treatment, TB is completely curable with simple drugs which are administered for 6 months, and TB treatment is completely free in government facilities.
Okay.
So there's a lot of hope. There's positive things around TB.
All right. Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, let's talk a bit about those challenges that we face when it comes to the treatment of TB. And number one is this habit that we have as people to self-medicate with over-the-counter medication. Unasikia kichwa inauma, paracetamol. Unasikia unakohoa kidogo, niko na hii flu, na hapa nikisikia mapua inafanya like this, like that. We always go over the counter to self-medicate.
Okay, I'll talk about that and also talk about what can we do to prevent ourselves from getting infected.
Briefly, as we compress it into something
First
brief.
of all, let's completely avoid self-medication for any disease, right? That's why we have doctors. That's why doctors are paid to take care of our health. So headaches, cough, whatever it is, stomachache, let's not self-medicate. Let's not go for the counter. Let's not go to herbalist. Let's seek proper medication. Number two, how do we prevent ourselves from TB? First of all, the BCG vaccine for children, that's a must. Secondly, proper nutrition. If our bodies, if we are feeding well, if our bodies are well nourished, then we reduce chances of getting infected. Living in well-ventilated conditions. Opening windows in our houses, in our offices, in the matatus. The other thing is when you have an infected family member, ensuring that they are on treatment, because that again prevents us from contracting disease. And for those who get the symptoms, quickly get treated. That's a sure way of us reducing new infections and creating awareness. I really like what KBC does. Educating people, because why would somebody die of a disease that's curable? It's simply because they did not know in the first place that what they were suffering from is tuberculosis. They don't know that it's curable. But today I want to give people hope that TB is curable, and so long as we seek treatment. Let's not die of diseases that don't have treatment and die of diseases that can be treated.
Let's pick our battles.
Yes,
all right.
Let's choose our battles.
As we close this conversation, there is your camera, just your clarion call, your call to action message to each and every individual who is watching us today. Again, just looking at all of those aspects of creating more awareness, stopping these habits of self-diagnosis, nutrition, readjusting our lifestyles. What would be a message to our viewers today?
My first message would go to the government of Kenya, and I'll precisely address the president. We have very, very ambitious targets of ending TB by the year 2030. But when we look at the funding situation of TB in this country, it is bad. I was looking at the statistics of TB financing according to WHO report, and I saw 47% of our TB response is unfunded. And there's no way we are going to hit our targets of ending TB if we are having a program that is have a deficit of 47%. I know the government is going to be reading the budgets in the next few days.
Coming month, yeah.
Exactly. What I'll be looking forward to is, one, at the county level, ensuring that the counties invest in TB, and the national government also puts money into TB. And on this, I should have mentioned that we have 10 high burden counties that carry the highest burden of
TB in our country.
In the country, starting with Nairobi, Kiambu, Nakuru, Meru, Lodwar, Machakos, Isiolo, Meru, among others. I would specifically want to address to the governors of those counties to ensure that we bring down the infections by investing TB. And to the general Kenyans, please do not self-medicate. Seek health care and support those who are on treatment. Let us not stigmatize anybody who has a cough thinking it's COVID. Even if it's COVID now, we know it's treatable, it's manageable. Support those people who are on treatment. And finally, let's spread the message of TB. Now we know the symptoms. We know, we know how TB is treated.
Yes.
Let's spread this message. Tell the next person to tell the next person. And if every 53 million of Kenyans are aware of TB symptoms, then we are going to bring down infections of TB.
Beautifully put. Nothing to add on to that. We have been speaking with Evelyn Kibuchi, who is the Chief National Coordinator working at Stop TB Partnership Kenya. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for giving the opportunity.
Karibu sana. Now, with that, we want to call it a program. Thank you so much for being with us. That is all we had lined up for you today, but be sure to join us again tomorrow morning. My name is General Boy. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye-bye for now.
Keep abreast of the developments live from the National Assembly and the Senate.
On our members of Parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice of the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as one opinion say aye?
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of Parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
Pesa mimi nilikuwa nazo na siko bahili kwa watu.
Ni mtu mmoja tu na nibadi.
Sikutamani wala sitawahi kukutamani.
Sio haki. Sio haki kabisa. At least angekudanganya danganya. Sio kukwambia waziwazi namna hiyo. Really?